6 a.m. and you're listening to The John Kincade Show, Philadelphia's longest-running sports talk morning show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
Let the party begin!
The show starts now.
Well, it's a party depending on how you look at it. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic begins the 6 o'clock hour. Thanks to Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White's here for the pro. It depends on how you look at it. And we talked about it Friday. All I want on a road victory, all I want on a road game is a victory. And yes, I am quite perturbed by a lot of things that I saw. But I never forget how difficult it is to even just go 5-3 if you had 8 road games, or maybe go 5-4 or 6-3. It's difficult in the NFL. And it is the one harbinger of whether you're going to the playoffs or not. You go 500 or better on the road, you make the playoffs almost 60-something% of the time. So you're in a real good position there if you can do that to just take care of victories. I'm going to hear everybody complain this morning, and I'm going to hear everybody pick apart a lot of things. And you know what? It reminds me of a law professor that I had back at Temple University on a business law class. And he told us about the fact that individual statements can be true, but crafting a bunch of individual statements together can make a statement that's false. The Eagles don't suck. The Eagles offense doesn't suck. Eagles offense had a bad day. You could talk about all the things that made it a bad day yesterday, but they had a bad day. And they won. It was weird. It was a weird day. It didn't feel right from 16-0. I thought, put up your feet. It didn't feel right. But it feels right this morning to see 1-0. When I see the Bengals 0-1, I see the Chiefs 0-1, I see the Giants 0-1, a bunch of playoff teams from last year, the Chargers 0-1. I'm all for venting, and I hope everybody vents today. We're going to give you every opportunity. It's 610-632-0975, and we will hear from our jurors. But can we vent with a little bit of realism that, okay, you still got the road victory? Good morning, Bobby.
Good morning. Yeah, that was, it's one of those, you're shaking your head, and then you have to shrug your shoulder. You're shaking your head in disbelief, like, what in the holy hell did I just watch over the last 3 hours? And you shrug your shoulders and say, well, like you said, at least they got the win. You'd much rather be them than New England today. You'd much rather be them than the Giants today or any
the
other
Bengals.
team that, yeah,
Chiefs.
Exactly. You went up there for one reason, and that was to win a football game. So many things to pick on. I mean, so many. And alarming. You can't be alarmed after one game. It's like we talked about before. Doubt is a hard word. Questioning something, that's fine. There's a lot of questions to be had today. And generally, I love the way you put it, John. The Eagles don't stink. Nick Sirianni doesn't stink. Jalen Hurts doesn't stink. I mean,
Brian Johnson doesn't stink.
The book is still out on a lot of things, and that's the way you have to look at it. But yes, lots of questions to be answered, and lots of questions that we're going to have today about what they did yesterday, and a lot of them go right at the head coach, and he'll take it.
If I said to you the 3 things that most bother you today about yesterday's game, the 4th and 2 call at the end of the game drives me nuts. The offense being as pure vanilla as I ever remember, and I have no idea why you have a big running back room and you don't use them. And the third is Jalen Hurts got completely outplayed. Those are my 3. Those are my 3 takeaway negatives that I feel from yesterday.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni comes out after the game and says, he talks about conviction. And if we do something, we're going to do it and do it and do it. Okay, I could sit here and say I'm 6'5", and say it with conviction over and over and over again. It's just not true. Going for it on 4th and 2 with, 2 minutes to go, whatever it was, and not pinning
they have one timeout
at the 40-yard line and not pinning back New England. You can say with conviction, this is who we are, this is who we are. Okay, the gambler in you, we all like. But sometimes you have to be a smart gambler. And that was, I don't care how many ways you put it, that was just plain stupid.
Pat, where do you run as far as the 4th and 2 was the number one thing with me? And Bob, obviously.
It was.
All of it. Yeah, all of it.
All of it
pissed me
yesterday,
off.
really?
Yeah, other than the quick start, I'm not thrilled at what I saw. They crapped the bed. And you're right. Brian Johnson doesn't stink. Nick Sirianni, Sean Desai, all of it. They stunk yesterday. They were ill-prepared. They got gifted 16 points, and then they had no idea what they were doing. The offense was vanilla as hell. Sean Desai, credit to him, he took a defense that had 70 sacks and he neutered them. I don't know how it happened, but he did. I'm not thrilled. They won. It felt like a loss. It never should have been that close. I'm pissed.
16 points gifted, though. I don't get that.
Yeah, Mac Jones.
The first drive was exceptional.
That ended in a field goal.
It was exceptional, though. That was a really nice drive.
That ended in a field goal.
I got you. It ended in a field goal.
Okay, yeah.
And then because that's a really good defense. They look like a really, really good defense, New England.
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, your defense is making plays. You got to make plays.
Did he make plays, or was it the interception was gifted? The fumble I'll give you, but yeah, no, you're not
Jordan Davis punches out a ball and you recover it. That's making a play. That's not gifted.
You made a play. The interception was gifted. It was a bad throw.
Wait, what was it?
After that, what was there to be thrilled about?
I wasn't thrilled with any of it.
Okay, well then
I didn't say I was thrilled with any of it. But I don't believe 16-0. No, but I don't think 16-0 was gifted.
All right, then it's not gifted. Then they got 7 points because they punched a ball out the first drive and it ended in a field goal.
It was a really nice drive.
If it was a really nice drive, they would have scored a touchdown. No, you're acting like this drive is incredible.
No, sometimes you have a really nice drive and you don't score a touchdown.
I mean, I got callers calling right now saying that it wasn't a good drive.
The first drive was, and Kenny Gainwell in the first drive, 6 carries for 29 yards, almost 5 yards a carry, and 2 receptions for 14 yards, 7 yards, and then you freaking just ignore it. You ignore it. You decide, no, we're smarter than the room. We're dominating them. We're blowing them off the line. We're running the ball. We're running it down their throat. We're burning clock. Oh, no. Let's change it up for our second drive and do something totally different. I believe, Bob, and it may be old school, I believe that until they show you they can stop it, do it. Until they prove they can stop you, just do what you're doing.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a bad thing. I'll tell you what, that whole team yesterday to me, and John, you've coached before. We've all watched millions of games. I've seen it in the professional realm where sometimes you're a coach and you're looking and you're going, oh, my God, what the hell's good? Let's go. The Eagles played flat-footed yesterday. And you watch again, I rewatched the first half last night like you and I were talking about earlier.
It was interesting.
They just seemed, even the first drive, Gainwell breaks, the best play was Gainwell breaking one off and went for like 16 yards, whatever it was. But the other parts of it seemed still just like a little flat-footed. Like Watkins, okay, you had a little play there. But they just didn't seem to have any like oomph. The offensive line wasn't pushing as well as you would see. Maybe it was the field, the wide receivers on their breaks. Pat had a great line. Sean Desai somehow neutered a 70-sack team. I got to watch it over again.
So we're not blaming the Sodfather this time.
I didn't see any stunts.
No, I didn't either.
Everything was one-on-one.
That was all
if somebody can beat somebody else one-on-one. Last year, you had so many great stunts, and nobody took advantage of it.
There was one with at some Hassan Reddick had one, I believe.
Yeah,
I mean, it was few and far between.
Now, my eyes were on the linebackers, and then when my eyes started to bleed from watching them, I switched up and started to watch the defensive line more. I just didn't say it. It was all one-on-one battles, and it was 4 guys go at it. One time they put 5 guys in there, and Romo pointed it out and said, "Oh, look, you got 5 guys going there." And I think that's when he pointed to Fletcher Cox.
Graham hit him,
right? Yeah. He got a free run into the quarterback, and you didn't see it again.
Sal Powell did the game yesterday with Steve Levy on ESPN Radio. And Sal Powell, I think, sums up something that I never thought I would see in the opening game, Eagles at the Patriots, and it was this.
On Tom Brady Day, they found themselves a quarterback who could get them out of trouble. And that's what Mac Jones did. He had a shaky first quarter in the rain, sailed some balls, had a pick 6 that got them behind. It's hard to play from behind against this Eagles defense. And yet he came out and came back, and he threw a lot of passes in this football game and connected on a lot of them. He outplayed Jalen Hurts in this football game. Period, paragraph, stop. New sentence. It's very important for people to realize Mac Jones outplayed a guy who was second overall in the MVP voting last year when he took his team to the Super Bowl.
What did you, Pat, do you expect this to happen again, or do you think Mac Jones goes back, turns into a pumpkin?
I I don't know if Mac Jones goes back to a pumpkin. Honestly, don't honestly care because it's the Patriots. But I don't think Jalen Hurts has a performance like that again.
I think Thursday night I'm going to go every over on him.
Like I kept trying to remind myself last year, I was annoyed after the first game of the season last year. Like they didn't play incredibly well. It looked a lot like the year before. It looked like Jalen Hurts just kind of taken off. The protection on the offensive line wasn't very good at all. Aiden Hutchinson was wrecking havoc. Like I tried to remind myself of that. And last year they righted the ship and they went to the Super Bowl and that was cool. So I don't think that you're going to have a situation where Jalen Hurts plays down to an opponent so low as Mac Jones that Mac Jones outperforms him.
CSB Media Arts Center in Cherry Hill, home to Connecticut School of Broadcasting's broadcast media program. You can find out more at gocsb.com. Nick Sirianni talked about something, and Bob pointed it out. I want you to hear it for yourself. He talked about coaching with conviction, and it seemed to be the talking point that had been prepared to deal with the post-game press conference.
Brian's cool and calm and just got a great demeanor about himself. I thought he called a great game. I thought he made some adjustments in the second half to throw it a little bit more, knowing that we were struggling in the run game, and if we throw it 20 times in a row, it's because that's what we think the right thing to do. If we run it 20 times in a row, that's what we think the right things to do. And Brian, and that's conviction. And I thought Brian had conviction today, and I was really happy with the way he performed. Brian performed as the offense coordinator today.
I have no idea what game Nick Sirianni watched. He had a great game. That's a Brian Johnson great game.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that was mediocre offensively at best. 5 straight 3-and-outs, the worst of Jalen Hurts' professional career. He'd never done that. What are you talking about? A great game.
You can look sometimes at an offense and say, you know what, they weren't performing. Maybe missed some throws. Maybe this, maybe that. It wasn't. It was just vanilla ugliness. It wasn't good.
Yeah, it wasn't.
You had a 3rd and 10 later in the game, and you run Boston Scott.
They did that numerous times yesterday.
I didn't. Everything seems so vanilla. You don't go to your tight end but once, who was open, obviously, on a couple of breaks. I mean, they showed the wide out camera, and Dallas Goedert was wide open a few times. You went away from the run where you were averaging 4 yards a carry with your main running back, Kenny Gainwell, and with Jalen Hurts in the first half. And he says he was shut down on it. Conviction is great. Being poised is great. Whatever. Make better play calls. Like, I'm sure that's being addressed by Nick Sirianni today with his whole offensive, not just Brian Johnson. I think the whole offensive staff. I don't think he was real happy upside. And they showed him on the sidelines a couple times yesterday.
I don't think he was happy.
No.
And I don't want to hear it was a great game plan or a great game for Brian Johnson, because that's full of crap. Hey, Tom in Alabama joins us. Tom, you're getting it started this morning. You got to bring the heat, buddy.
Morning, John. You look and sound great, my friend.
Thank you, buddy. Try my best.
I hear you. The play calling was horrible. I don't know. Sirianni has a lot of nerve saying that. Hurts got hit way too many times yesterday, and that play when he got lit up on the fumble in the end, there was nobody in the backfield. I don't know what the hell he was thinking, Johnson, on that. But Goddard and Swift, 2 touches between the both of them.
Terrible.
But in the end, though, New England had all the momentum going down, John, after that fumble. But the Eagle defense held, and
they did.
Got out there with a win.
And 2 of the God bless you, buddy. Take care of yourself. And 2 of the young dogs got sacks with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter.
Yeah,
it was nice to see
Carter
down the stretch. Jalen Carter was a little bit of a menace yesterday.
Yeah, he was pretty good. His first play in there, he shrugs off somebody, almost gets to the quarterback. Just seemed to be there pretty much all day long. I like that they got a lot of playing time. Jordan Davis was out there a lot early.
A lot, yes.
Which is good. You need that. You
he
need
needs
those,
to be there.
Yeah, that's why you have him. I mean, forget this protection thing. But I think guys seemed a little tired at the end. Sirianni even saying in the press conference, talking about I might have to rethink what I do in the preseason.
We have
For
that
Nick Sirianni to say that early, I was shocked.
We have that on tape, so we have a chance if we can hear that, Pat, where Nick Sirianni is willing to reevaluate his training camp approach, because yesterday that team looked gassed and that team looked unprepared. They did not appear to have the same
There
Let's
just
say
wasn't
level
oomph.
of it.
There
level of it.
wasn't like, let's go. There wasn't. You just
No, it
couldn't
wasn't
get
there.
it.
I'll definitely reevaluate some of the preseason stuff next year. I know they played the first 2 years we were here. They only played one series against the Jets in 2022. Maybe I should have played them, a series or two this preseason. And I already wrote that in my notes. And I'm constantly self-evaluating myself. And and I'm not promising anything. And I know y'all will remember this conversation and play it. And that's okay. But I have to I'll reevaluate that. Second thought, if I had to do it over again right now, I would say, I would have played the starters 1 or 2 drives in the preseason.
I don't think that necessarily has anything to do with what went on yesterday. I mean, it may have, and I appreciate Coach being able to be self-aware to potentially do that, but I'm not sure if he played a series against, in one of the preseason games against the Browns or something that yesterday would have been a great game. I do appreciate, though, that he says it.
Yeah,
but I don't know what it means. I don't think it means much.
It's not a question for now, really. I mean, okay, you can go back and look at it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're past that. You can't go back. It is what it is. Did they look tired yesterday? Did they look rusty? Absolutely. Like Pat said, much like they did against Detroit last year. It was 2 years ago when they came out against Atlanta and you didn't know who Nick Sirianni was or anything about what was going on, that it was like, whoa, look at this team. Look at them go. But yesterday just didn't seem to be a lot of fire underneath their asses.
Hey, there's used and there's certified, and then there's BMW certified. Take advantage of exceptional offers during the BMW certified sales event today. Visit bmwcenters.com for details. And quickly before we take a first break, and we welcome you all day long, and our jurors will be checking in throughout the course of the day. Pat, do we have a gavel sound or something that we can just sound like a little gavel when our jurors call in?
I'm sure I can find something.
I'm sure you find something for us.
Can find a little gavel.
All right, well, I got 30 seconds for you. Divest of the Philadelphia Phillies, please, if you would. Losing the season series, losing a weekend series to the Marlins, and I've been told all year, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's okay. What did it give it, Pat? 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
It was not a fun weekend. It was not a fun sports weekend. The Philadelphia Phillies, their ability to go 1 week and not have a lead until the 7th, and then the next week they will jump out to a lead, and then their bats will go completely silent, and then they'll give up the lead in the 7th. This team is frustrating as hell, maddening. I don't enjoy watching them, but then I enjoy watching them. I don't enjoy watching Aaron Nola pitch, but then they win that game. I'm flummoxed.
I understand.
I don't even know if that was 30 seconds, but it wasn't fun.
I understand. And again, yesterday, and it frustrates me too, a no-hitter going on in the 7th inning, and a ball's hit to center field, and Brandon Marsh can't get to it. And Larry Anderson, I'm going out and picking up some great Lorenzo's steaks and hoagies for watching the game. And I hear Larry Anderson, and Larry Anderson goes, Brandon Marsh doesn't get to that ball. Johan Rojas does. And that's bottom line.
Yep.
You have an outfielder who, Brandon Marsh, just one step off of it. He said, Rojas gets that ball easily. And it's just it's tough. You gotta make outs in the playoffs. So the Braves are in town.
I don't want to see Matt Strahm for like a week.
No, let's not.
I don't want to see Dominguez for a week, and I'm going to see him because they're going to need him.
I'll use my daughter's line.
But I need a break.
I'd rather see Sir Anthony Gargano on the mound.
At this point,
that is her. She would rather see her Uncle Anthony than see that.
The bullpen's just gross.
All right, what are you thinking about the Eagles today? And again, we go all over the map because I just look at it as road victories are road victories. But there are a lot of things to pick apart. And you're going to hear from Nick Sirianni. You're going to hear from some of the players, too. Jalen Hurts says something that I find maddening. And we'll get to that coming up. John Kincade Show, 610-632-0975. And we'll hear from our jurors, too.
to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
First and foremost, I think that's a great win, a great win for us, being able to be resilient. Obviously, for me, winning is the only thing that matters. And that's something that I've always said all the time. And so that's the mentality right now, and that will always be the mentality. Winning is the only thing that matters.
I do understand his mentality. And Jalen Hurts joins us, John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic. I understand his mentality of, well, all that matters is you won. Because I do feel that way with road wins in the NFL. Just get me a win. I'll count them out at the end. I'll count them up at the end of the year. Some of them will be ugly. Last year in Arizona, where we were at that game, and we're waiting for Arizona to miss a field goal for the Eagles to win. I mean, that was a bad Arizona team, and it took a missed field goal at the end for them to win. None of us went home on the plane ride home going, terrible win. No, I mean, in the NFL, you win games where you don't play well. But I hate that from Jalen Hurts, too, as he says, it was a great win. That's not a great win. That's not a great win. And Nick Sirianni pulls it, too, with the Brian Johnson. Brian Johnson had a great game. No, he did not. And anybody who knows football knows he did not. The game plan was vanilla. I mean, it was lame. The offensive game plan was terrible. With all those weapons, that was terrible.
Okay,
that wasn't
don't worry
good.
about it. Enjoy the win, man.
Yes, that wasn't great, though. Don't tell me it's great.
Well,
you can tell me it was a win. I'll take that.
It's great in the fact that you didn't play well at all. And you can go up and down both sides of the ball and find a million places where they didn't play well. And you can lament the offensive and defensive coordinator of what in the holy hell were you guys thinking? And the head coach for going on for it on 4th and 2 and allowing New England a chance to win that game. There's so many different things. Why is it a great win? Because all those things happen and somehow you still got a W. Because you're up in New England on a day, and this can't be understated. I've been to a lot of events where somebody's being honored or something's going on that's outside of the game, and it gives you an atmosphere. And Tom Brady being honored yesterday gives New England a bit of an atmosphere. And the Eagles did a really good job of coming out and just squelching that right away. Took all the air out of the balloon right away, getting up 16-0. Yeah, you're not going to grade it as an A, but it's going to be the note on the back of your report card that the teacher always wrote, and I got it too. Bob can do better in his grade, but we love his disposition.
That's nice.
They like that I was a good guy, like when I was a little kid. I sucked at school, but, whatever. So that's kind of what surmises this. It's just a win is great, and it's even better because they suck so bad.
The 4th and 2 decision was made by Nick Sirianni. First, before we dissect it, and you can join us at 610-632-0975, I want you to hear Nick Sirianni explain it.
We just try to give them options in situations like that. I guess really the word, again, I'm going to say is conviction. Conviction that our offense is going to succeed. Conviction that we'll call the right play to put them in position to make a play. And conviction, if we don't, that our defense will get a stop. Because I was convicted there. It didn't work. It didn't work. Sometimes that's going to happen. That you make that call that you feel good about, but it's about the process that you put to get to that position. That there wasn't a hesitation in my mind because we've put ourselves in that scenario in the film room all week.
In that game situation, by the way, I'm reading in analytics, one of those football analytics spots today, like around 14% of teams would go for it in that situation. That's ridiculous. I mean, it's like to be saying how, like, yeah, we're just convicted. We're convicted the defense. The defense was gassed, completely gassed, and then New England gets it down to the 9-yard line before the end of the game. And if it wasn't for a young player, Butte, not getting his second foot in, you could potentially have had a 1st and goal with like 28 seconds to go.
We all love what Nick's. It all started here with Doug Peterson, right? With the going for it on 4th down, and it worked, and it was different, and it worked way more times than it didn't, and we loved it. And now Nick Sirianni comes in here, and we have the tush push and all of the things that they go for it and all. And we like it because for the most part it works and it's winning and it's different. Great. But at some point, you have to be logical instead of convicted. You just have to be logical. Yeah, maybe you talked to your team all week and said, you know what? If we have 4th and 2 late in the game, I don't care where we are. We're going for it. Okay, but at some point you got to be smart. And that just wasn't smart yesterday. I don't care if Sipos would have kicked it out of the end zone. I'd rather them be back on their own 25 as opposed to the 45. It just wasn't smart.
I have no idea where the kick coverage is, Pat. But I didn't know where the kick coverage was last year either. I mean, their special teams are horrendous.
I actually didn't think the special teams was that bad yesterday.
The return game? For New England?
The return game wasn't great, but they have a good returner.
We got a great kicker.
Yeah,
but I'm not giving Clay any credit for him being a great kicker.
I thought some of those they completely blew up New England. I like that. That was cool to watch. I don't know why the return, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, but why he didn't fair catch twice. He got the message pretty quickly to do that. But, I'm trying to remind myself they're down a couple of key figures.
And they are, yes.
On special teams. And it was a special teams unit that wasn't all that strong last year. So going in, I was a little worried, and I guess for me, it's all about expectations. I expected the Eagles to play well. They didn't, so I'm mad. With the special teams, I expected the Eagles to not do well, and they didn't completely crap the bed, so I'm not all that mad at them.
Hey, if your basement, you sound better than you sounded at 6.
I'm coming around. I got my coffee.
If your basement or crawl space smells musty, or if you've got watermarks on the block walls, get a completely free home inspection from the experts. Call BQ Basements and Concrete. The problem's only going to get worse if you're not careful. Michael in Yardley joins us. So, Michael, your thoughts on the 4th and 2 call by Nick Sirianni?
It was absolutely ridiculous. And I know exactly what he was trying to do. So listen, guys, the formation, you have the running back and Jalen on the boundary side, and they're going to run read option. That was the call all the way, a read option call. You do the dive or Jalen pulls it. But then you have a check. If it looks like there's outside pressure, that means Devontae is going to be one-on-one.
Which there was.
Receiver on the back. So they're going, all right, Jalen, run read option. If they look like they're bringing outside pressure like they did earlier when we took the sack, you're going to throw that quick slant in the window where the blitzer comes. So they were just playing chess right there, but you don't play chess on 4th and 2 in your territory at the end of the game. That's absolutely ridiculous.
I don't understand, too, the big chunks of yardage they got on the touchdown play after going up 11. Like, I can't imagine. There were wide receivers wide open across the middle and then on the sidelines. And I don't get it. I don't understand it, what they were trying to do yesterday. Thank you, Michael. But
on that 4th and 2 play, Hurts never took his eyes off the receiver a little bit, so it was obvious what he was doing. I was wondering, were they faking that they were going to do something?
I thought they were.
And then I see the ball snapped, and I literally out loud was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, what?" No, I couldn't have disagreed with that call more. You're at the 44-yard line. Like, New England only has to go so far. Why? Why aren't you taking 20 yards off the field with 2 minutes to go in the game? It absolutely made no. I'll take this to my grave. I don't care. I think it's a stupid call. You can tell me about conviction and all that.
Yes.
And I'll agree in other times when you go for it on 4th and 2 where it's maybe a little iffy. I'll agree with it. This was not the time nor the place at all to go for it on 4th and 2. Horrendous call. Worst call of the day.
It was just not. And again, conviction. You can talk to me all about it all you want. There has to be logic behind what you do. And the logic says there, you punt them deep. I don't understand, Pat. I thought for sure Bill Belichick, instead of going for it on that 4th down when they were down by 8, but they down by 5, that he didn't kick the field goal. That he went for it on 4th down.
Yeah, 4th and 3,
I was like, he had 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. I would have kicked the field goal, gone down by 2 points, and said to my defense, okay, you got one shot to stop him and make him punt, and then we can get into field goal range and we can win this game.
I was a little surprised, too, because you're playing at home.
Right.
But he might have just left that up to Bill O'Brien because they kept making a big deal about Bill O'Brien taking over play calling. I was a little surprised. But he might not have just had the faith. Like, you heard how he discussed Jalen Hurts before the game and about stopping Jalen Hurts. He simply might not have thought that they had a chance to stop him if you gave him the ball back in that situation. So that probably had a big part in it. You have Jalen Hurts on your team, and you don't want to give that guy the ball and have them kill clock and whatnot.
The 5 consecutive 3-and-outs. I honestly, that's 2. That was one of my other biggest frustrations of the day. But the young dogs showing themselves up front, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis. And I don't mean to discount Jordan Davis at all because I am a huge fan. But I think, Bob, I said it to you earlier, I think I heard Jordan Davis's name called yesterday by Jim Nantz and Tony Romo more than I heard it called the entirety of last year. And the run defense yesterday was fantastic. That was one of the A-plus marks. That run defense looked fantastic.
Yeah, I think they may have lucked out a little bit. I don't think Stevenson was 100%. He had a stomach virus, missed practice on Friday. He just didn't look himself. I thought he was going to play if he was healthy, he probably would have played a bigger role. Yeah, but I got to agree with you. You know, Jordan Davis being in there for 44% of the plays and Jalen Carter being in there for 50%.
I couldn't believe that his first NFL game, 50%.
Good. That's what these kids are here for.
Oh, that's
Play
great.
them. Yeah,
I'm shocked, though.
absolutely. Yeah,
I thought they
get
put
him out there. Let's go. I'm done with the coddling and all this, and you know, he can't be in on rundowns. No, they kept Jordan Davis in there even when Mac Jones was completing like 12 of 12. He was still in there trying to get some pressure up front. There's a lot to figure out with this stuff, but the concerns, the running. I'm sorry. I came out of yesterday. I don't think Gainwell's a number one. I just don't. Wow. I doesn't see it.
That
it doesn't
first drive,
seem like it
you
to
didn't
me.
think that?
First drive, yeah, he had
six
a nice
carries,
run.
averaging almost 5 yards, 4.8.
He's an NFL running back,
and then he got 14, and he got 2 receptions for 14 yards.
Yeah,
he was the offense.
He was, but I just don't think he's a number one. I don't think they have this running back group figured out at all. And that's why I said to you, I didn't think Penny was going to suit up because I don't think they have it figured out what they want to do.
I thought they went to him way too often.
Gainwell?
You have a running back. You're supposed to have a running back room by committee, and it was Gainwell, pass, Gainwell.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what's the point of getting DeAndre Swift if you're not ever going to use him? And I've never thought that Gainwell was a number one back. He performed pretty well that first drive, so it was hard to argue with it. But then afterwards, they kept going to him as if he was Brian Westbrook. I didn't get it.
I don't understand how you build a running back room and you say it's going to be running back by committee, and then you give the other 2 guys 2 carries.
Yeah.
Combined. That makes no sense. That's on Brian Johnson. That means Brian Johnson did not have a great game. The offense didn't score touchdowns. This offense, with these wide receivers, with this talent, didn't score. That's this offensive line, which, by the way, did not have a good first half, and I thought had a great pass protecting second half. Whatever they did at halftime for pass protection worked. Because Jalen, there were a couple times where Jalen Hurts literally had 4, 5, 6 seconds to throw the football downfield, to survey it, look around, and throw it downfield.
Yeah, we talked about this, I think, a couple weeks ago, John, when we said somebody said it might be easier for Brian Johnson to have all these running backs at his disposal and all. And I said, I think it'd be easier if you just had, like, you knew who your one was.
Right.
And then you're sprinkling in others. You had that with Miles Sanders. He had 1,300 yards. We know all that. And they sprinkled in Gainwell and Boston Scott. We know. I don't think Gainwell is that. And I think Brian Johnson might be, or it might come to be, that there's just too many guys there that he's trying to find out
and he's a young
how to
guy.
get there. Yeah. So I don't know. I wish they had I just don't think Gainwell's a number one back. I just don't. I like what he does, but I don't think he's a number one.
They went into defense mode on Brian Johnson yesterday in a big way. There were talking points before they had the press conference to make sure that we protect Brian Johnson. That was a terrible debut. Again, it doesn't mean Brian Johnson's going to be terrible.
No.
It doesn't mean that he's an idiot. It doesn't mean, but he had a horrible debut yesterday. I would expect, and I told Pat earlier, I'm going to pound the overs for Jalen Hurts on Thursday night. I mean, I can't believe we will ever see a performance back-to-back like that out of Jalen Hurts. And from what I saw yesterday with Minnesota and Tampa Bay, watching the Eagles' 2 next opponents play each other, at one point, Matt Ryan's doing his first NFL game, and Matt Ryan goes, this isn't optimal quarterback play. It's something like Matt's trying to say something nice without being a jerk. And he's like, the quarterback play today has not been optimal. And I think they're absolutely missing Dalvin Cook in that offense big time. Even though Justin Jefferson was just a beast. By the way, Jefferson kept catching cross patterns and then running for 20, 15 extra yards. Get ready for that on Thursday night.
Well, that was what I was screaming at the TV. Not screaming, but I was saying it yesterday. Where the hell are the linebackers? You saw guys coming across the middle, getting catches, and being tackled by safeties. Linebackers were kind of nowhere to be found.
Good in the run game. They were very good in the run game. They were stout in the run game, the front and the linebackers.
I thought the front was fine in the run game.
But there was nothing.
And
was no
Kobe Dean,
playmaking.
I don't know how bad the foot injury. None of us knows
was in a
how
boot.
bad it is. Yeah, I mean, it could be. I don't know if it's a high ankle sprain. Is it something that's going to last for a couple of weeks? Are you okay with that? You know, they put in Ellis, and Tony Romo actually was.
He likes Ellis.
Yeah,
He had a weird comment when they put in Ellis. Did you caught it too? Obviously.
Yeah,
and he was like, "I sort of like Ellis
he did.
being the guy."
Yeah, he likes.
He said,
him.
"I sort of like him."
He said he can play both linebacker positions and this and that. Okay, the linebackers and the safeties yesterday. Safety Blankenship was kind of where he should have been. Got lost on a touchdown.
Seemed like it was a step short sometimes.
Yeah, but they did nothing to boost my confidence in them. I don't know about you guys, but really nothing there. And the linebackers were invisible a lot of times yesterday, I thought.
You're free to get in at 610-632-0975. You can vent. Pat's feeling much better than he did at 6 a.m. about things. I think we're warming him up a little bit. John Kincade Show on 97.5.
Don't flatter yourself.
97.5, The Fanatic. You can kick off the Eagles season in style.
Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. Official home of the Sixers, Flyers, Union, and the best Eagles talk in Philadelphia. 97.5, The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
It's a long time from now. I could care less about that. We won the game. It's a long time from now. We got a game Thursday, and we're eager to prepare for that one.
Jalen Hurts saying he doesn't care about Nick Sirianni reevaluating the preseason. I was surprised that Coach Sirianni said that. After 2 years where it worked, I think it was a little bit of an overreaction. Look, you're 3-0 in openers, so what you've done has given you a victory in each of the years. So I'm not going to trash Nick Sirianni's offseason plan because of one really sloppy game, but that was really one sloppy game. I think it's more on two new coordinators than it is on not playing in the preseason.
Well, Pat and I were just talking during the break, and I'll let him go on this a little bit more. But, you know, Jonathan Gannon came out with quotes this week saying, oh, Nick Sirianni's the type of coach that'll get in your face and all that stuff. Okay, he makes comments yesterday about what he didn't like after the game. Did he approach it during the game?
I didn't see it during the game, but maybe...
we don't see the sidelines all the time.
Or halftime.
I'm sorry, if I'm an offensive coordinator in my first game, my head coach comes over and says, that guy DeAndre Swift, I want him to get the ball a little bit. And that tight end of ours, he's open in some things. Can you have our quarterback look at him a little bit? I thought that could have been done.
It's amazing to me because Sirianni doesn't call the defense. He doesn't call plays. He doesn't call the offense. So he's sitting there like us, a viewer, watching, going, where is Dallas Goedert? Why isn't DeAndre Swift involved at all in the offense? Where are these guys? What was the point of Dallas Goedert making the trip? And then after the game, he comes out and says, oh, you know, I don't ever want to leave a game where DeAndre Swift has 2 carries and Dallas Goedert 0 target. Dude, walk over and say something.
Yes, during the game, adjust.
Get in your new coordinator's face, who might be overwhelmed in the moment, and tell him, do a play call for one of these guys. Like, be proactive. Don't sit there on a podium and tell me I don't want to ever. You had the ability to change. I don't. I'm on my couch in Roxborough. I have no ability to change it. All right? I could call Nick Sirianni. He's not answering in that moment. Nick Sirianni has the power as the head coach to change it. Get these guys involved in your vanilla, bland offense.
I'll tell you one thing real quick, John. I remember when Carson Wentz was here and there'd be bad series after bad series, and he'd go to the sideline and grab his iPad. I know I said it many times. Why isn't he talking to anybody?
He was never talking. Yes.
I don't see it. I didn't see a lot of
communication yesterday.
They show him on the sideline. He's sitting there. And part of you is, well, look, he's all calm and stuff, so that's okay. Other part of it is, damn, get up and talk to somebody. Go talk to your offensive coordinator and say, hey, what are we doing here?
Again, I'll say what I said at the beginning before we get to these calls. Oh, I don't want to do the Jalen Hurts a win is a win. Because yesterday, you can acknowledge that it was a crappy performance, and you can also acknowledge that a win is a win. They're both true statements. But if you try to combine the two and say, it doesn't matter, like what happened, because a win is a win, that's where you can make a false statement. It matters. You got to clean that up, and you have until Thursday night to do it. You only have 2 days of practice this week to do it. So you got to get rolling on it. We'll go to our first juror of the day, Patrick. And it is one that was kind enough to join us on Friday. It was great having E-Rock join us in studio. So, E-Rock, welcome aboard. And
good morning.
We're waiting to hear your testimony on what you watched yesterday in person.
Well, I was up there with Philly Sports Trips, and I got 2 good news and 2 bad news. The good news is, well, we won. We won. The bad news is, the first bad news is that it was incredibly sloppy for all the reasons that you guys were discussing. Sloppy play calling, sloppy getting personnel in and out, sloppy play on the field. Just an overall sloppy game. The other piece of good news is we kind of expected this, right? I mean, they don't play preseason, and they're kind of working through some things, so we were expecting a sloppy game. The bad news is, or the good news is, or
you're confused as what's good and what's bad.
Yeah, the good news is the Eagles team that you saw yesterday is not going to be the Eagles team that you're going to see moving forward. They know what they have to work on. Whatever Jalen Hurts said, a win is a win, but they know that this is not a Doug Peterson or an Andy Reid team where they keep trotting out the same game plan and they just never seem to learn from their mistakes. The Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, Philadelphia Eagles, always week by week, seem to adjust. So I'm anticipating a much better performance at home at the Link.
And we'll see you on Thursday night, right? Everybody be down there?
Absolutely.
Good
I'll be
job.
DJing for Philly Sports Trips at Live Casino down there.
And I think
We'll
Bob
see
will
you
be
there,
there, and I
E-Rock.
think Pat will be there.
That's right. Pre-game
Good
show.
job,
We'll
buddy.
be
Thank
there.
you, man.
All right, buddy.
Great having E-Rock check in, our first juror of the day. Let's see what Ryan in North Carolina has to say. Ryan, was it as bad in the South, or was it – no, he's not a juror. Was it as bad in the South, or was it really bad?
No, I got all my family's in Philadelphia. Father's military, kid down here. But so just wanted to talk about the game, kind of what I saw. So ever since last year, NFC Championship game, we've been on the Gainwell train. You know, everyone's been talking about
I have been, yeah.
Kenny Gainwell. And I think he's great. But during that game, what happened? We were getting bottled up until our change of pace back came in, which is what Kenny Gainwell is. He's a change of pace back. I want to see Hurts in that 6 to 8 range carry game. And you're not going to get that with Kenny Gainwell at running back. He is going to have to take over games more often and more frequently. We need a running back game. So I want to look at a free agent like a Kareem Hunt, see what he's out there. He can't be expensive.
I want to see Rashad Penny. I want to see Rashad Penny dressed.
Well, yeah, let's see what happens there. But that's just part of the game. So the other part is I think they got scared. And when the defense made those big plays in the beginning of the game, they got the fumble, they got the interception, they scored. I think that changed up the entire game plan because after that, I don't know if y'all saw like Jalen Hurts' like facial expressions when they zoomed in on him. He looked different. He didn't look like he was going out there full of confidence. The offense looked discombobulated.
Yeah, he looked like he was a bit at times. Thank you, Ryan. He looked like he was.
I think it was the rain in his face.
I don't think he was perturbed, but I think he was frustrated.
Well,
I think they were
he should have
frustrating
been.
him.
Sure. I mean, that offense was nowhere near the juggernaut that they were last year. They weren't operating on all cylinders. They weren't clicking, however you want to phrase it. And they also seemed very flat-footed to me. They just didn't seem like they were on their toes. It didn't seem to have the push. You see guys standing there. Maybe it was tired. I don't know what it was, but of course he was frustrated. All of us were frustrated. Nobody more so than the quarterback of the team.
Terrell in Philly joins us. Terrell, how are you, buddy?
Doing good. How are you?
Well, I mean, a win is a win. I agree with Jalen Hurts, but him saying it was a great game by Brian Johnson and a great win, I don't feel that way today.
I don't think it was a great game at all. I'm not trying to say, to downplay what happened yesterday, but I do think that the next few weeks are going to be way different than yesterday. They're going, we got new coordinators, they got new players on running backs, and they're going to plug and play. They're going to adjust. You're going to watch film, and I think they're going to be better.
Who are you more confident?
Like E-Rock said it. We kind of expected this without the preseason. I do agree with that. And the weather was terrible yesterday. So
who are you more confident in, though? Is it Desai or Johnson to get this figured out?
The defense. I'm a little more worried about the defense actually because I do find it concerning that Mac Jones had 300 yards after what he did last year.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. I got to tell you, that's one of the things, Terrell, thanks for your call. That's one of the things bothering me this morning. Seeing Mac Jones' stat line, I didn't expect that under any circumstance.
Well, but our questions were the safeties and the linebackers. And once Bill O'Brien picked it up, it was like they were nowhere to be found. I mean, the linebackers were absolutely nowhere to be found. They couldn't cover. And once balls were thrown over the middle, they weren't in on tackles all that much. It was safeties coming up, and it might be a little bit scary. The offense is so talented that you think they're going to click, and Brian Johnson may look better just because he has so much talent there. But they got to figure out that running back room, and that's a big part of it. But yeah, I think all concerns, if you're coming out of this game. Not all concerns, but most of them are going to have to be to what they were before the game, and that's your linebacking play and your safety play.
I have no idea what the Eagles were doing, though, running Jalen Hurts in an empty backfield into traffic to cough up a ball.
Quarterback draw.
I have no idea what they were thinking and that was a design play.
Yeah.
That wasn't, to me, that makes no sense. You first of all, do you want to put Jalen Hurts into constant abuse? Physical, or are you trying to protect him? You don't have a running back that you trust to be able to hand the ball to if you want to run clock and make them burn timeouts. You don't have a running back you can trust 3 times? You don't have – I mean, I better see Rashad Penny on Thursday night or more of DeAndre Swift. But even in that point in the game, I wouldn't be using DeAndre Swift at that point in the game. I'd be using Rashad Penny to bound a guy who has shown he can run between the tackles, he can pound the football – unless they see something that I don't know about from training camp.
Has to be. I mean, they didn't feel confident enough to put him on the roster.
Good call on your part, by the way. You said it Friday. Bold prediction. You made that on Friday.
Yeah, I just think they're juggling too many balls here. And when you have a rookie offensive coordinator, that's a tough thing to do because you have so many great talented people on that side of the ball. Now you have to worry about juggling 3, maybe 4 running backs. It just seems to me like you're getting a little too complicated. That's why I said on Friday that I thought they would sit Penny.
Well, you were right.
But they still didn't handle the running back situation very well. Like you said, why aren't you giving the ball to a running back late in the game?
Yeah, I mean, don't give it to Jalen Hurts to run into traffic. First of all, get hit by 3 guys and cough up the ball.
He got popped, too. He got
terrible.
Popped. Well, really good.
Hey, 7 o'clock hour is brought to you by the BetPark Sports app. Make the BetPark Sports app your college and pro football go-to. You will absolutely love it. I was using it all weekend long. You got to be 21 in Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, or Maryland. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Joe thinks it's time to reevaluate something. Joe, good morning. You're on The Fanatic. How are you?
Hey, what's up, fellas? I think it might be time to reevaluate his off-season because that looked like a total preseason. I mean, everything felt preseason about that game. I think we've got them young coaches like that, the game plan. I mean, they're so young, so their game plan and everything is still stuck in preseason, stuck in vanilla. I mean, from offense to defense, everything was so vanilla. I think, with young coaches, you know what I mean? They gear it in so much that they got to learn how it's a preseason and it's a regular season. And that looked like a whole preseason game plan. And then the thing, when Gainwell was running the ball so well, I'm like, why don't you switch it up with Swift? I mean, he's the playmaker, a home run hitter. If Gainwell's having that much success, I'm playing my other home, let the other guy bat up in the lineup. I mean, I think that was totally I think they missed opportunities with
Joe,
that. I mean,
watching Minnesota's defense yesterday, watching them play Tampa, there are plays to be made for DeAndre Swift. I think we'll see it on Thursday night, brother. I think that DeAndre will have a little bit of a coming out party. That Minnesota and Tampa, both of them, they're not terrible teams. In fact, defensively, I thought both teams played fairly well. But there are plays to be made.
Yeah, and if you're Minnesota and you have the Justin Jefferson and you're looking, like you said, a lot of plays across the middle that they ran. I didn't see any of the Minnesota game, but if that's what they were doing, Avonte Maddox did not have a good game yesterday.
He did absolutely.
He broke up one pass, but my God, he was behind people all day long. Now that happens when you're dragging guys across the field. It's not easy in the NFL. A guy comes at you and you drag him all the way across the field. It's not easy to stay with him. He's going to have to play better, but. I'll tell you what disappointed me also in that passing game. You got to get better pressure on the quarterback.
You absolutely do. There were lots of push. They had lots of push all day long. 6 pressures for Jalen Carter.
Yeah, but did you ever feel like that Mac Jones was really uncomfortable in there?
No, he was delivering the ball well.
Yeah, I mean, you got your first sack with just under 3 minutes to go in the game. It seemed like Hassan Reddick couldn't get there pretty much all day long. They didn't run any stunts that I could see. I'm going to watch again today, but it just was weird. It seemed like, all right, one-on-one battles, go win and get to the quarterback, and they didn't.
All right, let's see what we got with one of our next jurors from our YouTube community. We're thrilled to have John Cheeseborough joining us. John, John, that's a real name too, which is great. I mean, the Cheeseborough family, proud legacy of Eagle fans.
oh yeah, great Eagles family.
That's great.
Lots of cheeseburgers and everything.
What'd you think, John?
Well, it's already been said, it's an ugly game from the start. You know, my problem is I'm still trying to figure out what the game plan was on both sides of the ball. I don't know what they were trying to do offensively and defensively. You know, like, after we got the turnovers, I'm just sitting there like Anthony Gargano, like, oh, man, I couldn't.
Oh, brother.
Oh, guys, turnovers, guys. But then it was just the second quarter happened and everything just went by the wayside. But then, of course, a lot of that is Belichick trying to keep Jalen Hurts from going off, and that's just what he did. But it was ugly. It was just an ugly game.
But you're okay. Like, you're okay.
Man.
Friday morning, when you call for your juror testimony, you do not expect to be talking the same way about your birds. That would be unacceptable, right, John? We lost John. He fell off on us there. John?
Yep.
John, so Friday, you do not expect that to be your testimony on Friday. You expect this Birds team's going to come out strong on Thursday night.
I'm thinking they're going to get it corrected because, and you know what, week one is the biggest overreaction in all of sports. So
absolutely,
they'll get it fixed.
Thank you, brother. We'll look forward to hearing your testimony on Friday.
All right.
There you go, buddy.
I talk to you guys a lot about feelings and how when I get up during a day of a game and then, whatever, last Wednesday I didn't feel it all with the Eagles. I'm not feeling that this offense is going to turn it around this Thursday.
I am feeling that it is going to be a coming out party.
Yeah, I just think it's too little time. There's a lot that needs to be fixed in a very, very short amount of time. Hopefully it does. And we saw what Jalen Hurts did to Minnesota last year here. And he was a pocket quarterback that game, and he was phenomenal.
He was awesome.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about Thursday night that we want it to be back. I don't think it's going to fully be there yet because of the time frame.
Pat, I'm leaning on I'm going to look at every tasty over tomorrow morning and Wednesday morning when we get started looking at these, getting ready for Thursday.
I'm not.
You are not. So
not after the weekend. Not after the weekend I had.
Oh,
was not.
So you had a little rough. You had a little rough weekend.
Yeah. It started with the biggest upset in UFC history. That was fun.
That's really fun.
And then it carried over to yesterday, where every parlay you make, there's no way this doesn't hit. Guys, it didn't hit.
And it didn't hit.
None of them hit.
Well, yesterday, by the way, they had 7 unders in the 1:00 games, or something like that. It was one of the number one under games ever to start a season.
It was gross. Like it
wasn't good football.
Me, Bob, and Andrew were doing pregame, and we were discussing, the games that were going on. And it's like, if you like good quarterback play, this is not the week for you.
It was gross. We were all sitting here looking at scores, like Pat was saying. We had the Cincinnati-Cleveland game on. Cincinnati looked horrible. It was just typical week one football. So did it prepare us for what happened with the Eagles and the way they played? No, but it's understandable because it was all kind of throughout the league, except for the two teams that are probably going to challenge Eagles for the NFC, and that was Dallas and San Francisco.
And I don't care what Dallas and San Francisco again what they do. I'm not worried about that. Dallas goes out and has a great showing in week one. Stop me if you've heard that story before. Stop me if in September you've heard, boy, Dallas just looks heads and shoulders above the rest.
They usually end up winning the Super Bowl in September.
They do. And as I told Bob, again, if you're worried about it, and if you're worried about the Cowboys, again, just think of this one thing. That's why yesterday's win is a huge deal. You don't want to give up any of the games that you had with Dallas. Dallas plays New England, but they play them at home. So that's a better advantage. The 49er game, Dallas goes to San Francisco. Eagles host the game. Dallas in December, the last 2 weeks before Christmas, goes to Buffalo and goes to Miami. The Eagles host Buffalo, host Miami. I'm just saying that is a much, much tougher road for Dallas. You've just got to not give them the opportunity to pick up games on you early where you need them to lose those games. Instead, they can end up being the difference of what actually helps you, hopefully, win the NFC.
And that's what makes yesterday's win all that much better.
You have to have it.
Yeah, so many people are. Yesterday, the reaction was, oh, my God, but at least they won. Today, it's more of a, okay, it was pouring. It was Tom Brady day. It is Bill Belichick. All these things. Bill O'Brien, apparently. Tony Romo's eyes are just, and maybe most ex-quarterbacks are like this, but the things that he sees, I know a lot of people don't like him. I kind of do. I like what Romo says. I like that he said about what he said about Bill O'Brien. Like, he said, okay, he came out at first. He found it. He found those linebackers. He knows what he's going after now.
He did.
And they made the adjustments. And the Eagles, defensively, when they're going after a linebacking core that is unproven, to say the least, what adjustments can you make? I don't know. You're not going to get better personnel.
No, you're not getting better. Well, the thing is, they do have flexibility to be able to address some of their personnel weaknesses. The question is, who's out there? And you got to wonder if somebody is potentially better out there. And that's what I don't know right now. Can you find somebody in the secondary to be able to help this secondary? Can you find a linebacker? You might need to find a linebacker if you've got right now Nakobe Dean in a walking boot. I would imagine he walks out of the building in a walking boot last night. I would imagine he's not playing on Thursday. That's just a guess on my part. I am not a doctor. I am not on staff. That is a guess. Walking boot on Sunday night doesn't tell me playing Thursday.
Yeah, probably not. You know, we have to keep an eye on Bradbury, too. He took a helmet to helmet, came out with his lip bleeding or whatever, but I'm sure he got tested for a concussion, and more tests will be coming today, and you have to keep an eye on that. It really shows you the limitations that they have on the defensive side of the ball, and we talked about it. It's the biggest question marks. And now if you have injuries come into play also, John?
And then it gets thin.
Yeah.
And DJ says to me, he said, you're loving on your boy Jalen Carter this morning, and he did have a great debut. He said, but what about Jordan Davis? He said Jordan Davis had a great game. I think in the run game he did. I mean, he forced a fumble. He forced a fumble, punched a ball out. He played pretty much double the snaps that he played last year.
Yeah.
But I honestly, Bob, I'm not being flippant because I love Jordan Davis. I'm not trying to rip him. I heard his name yesterday, called in that game on the broadcast. I believe more than I heard it entirely called last year. I don't think it was a great game, though.
Well,
he did a good job.
And the best thing was, like you said, was that he was on the field. Like we talked about this last year. He can't be situational.
No.
You didn't get Jordan Davis to be situational. You didn't get Jalen Carter to be situational. These guys need to be on the field because of the dominance that you're hoping that they can have for this defense. So I was glad he was on the field, and you're right. I was glad that I looked up and I was like, oh, is that number 90 again?
That's Jordan Davis making a play.
Okay.
Jordan Davis making a play, right?
I see you. That's good, yeah.
Pat, a scenario that can't happen. And I thank the Phillies broadcasters for bringing it up this weekend, the ex-players. You can't let the Braves celebrate on your field. And today, a doubleheader. The only way the Braves celebrate and pop champagne here is winning all 4 games. So today, Taijuan Walker, take that off the table game 1.
I don't think they'll have to worry about it. I think I'd be shocked if they get swept.
I'd be shocked.
Because if you get swept, you just lost 6 of your last 8. Or is it 6 of your last 8 or 6 of your last 7? It's 6 of your last 7. Yeah, this team, as frustrating as they are to watch, I don't see them going into a 6 of your last 7 rut in September.
I would tell you, last year, we had 3 weeks to go in the season today. Last year, they had 2 5-game losing streaks in the last 3 weeks.
Well, that was last year.
I got to say, well, we're counting on last year to be this year, though, right? We're counting on that same energy that, everything's going to bounce back and turn around. Let's see if you can take care of business here. I want a series win. I want a series win.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the ideal situation.
Send a message.
Playing the Braves is a tough task just because they're so light years ahead of everybody else. But I didn't wake up today thinking that they were going to get swept in this series. I think they'll split today. The rest of the series, I don't know how it plays out. Doubleheaders are weird.
I would honestly even take a split just to be able to stop some of this bleeding. Cubs,
I'd gladly take a split.
Cubs lose 3 out of 4 this weekend, and they're only 2 back of the Phillies. I just can't.
They're going to be that mosquito in your bedroom.
But I don't understand it.
You had one of them this week?
I did. It sucked.
You had a mosquito in your bedroom?
Well, I woke up on Saturday night, and I could tell I gotten bit up.
Oh, no.
And then it was you start scratching, and that kind of wakes you up more. And then it's you realize I have a mosquito in my room, and then I got to find it. I don't know if I found it or not. No. I have a bug thing. It's a UV light that traps the bug, and then it goes down and it just obliterates them. So I had to go and grab that, hook it up, and it was a mess, Johnny.
I think that Ricky Bo is getting eaten by a spider in his house.
Wow. Really?
He keeps waking up every day, and I said, that's a spider bite. Being in the South, you get used to the spider bites. I said, that's a spider bite, that's a spider bite. And he's
that's rough.
And he's getting bitten by a spider while he sleeps because they show up each day. So he's got to find that spider and get rid of it. We need him on the best show ever.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, we can't have him.
I almost feel bad that I'm not getting insect.
We don't have any bugs, thank God. Zach Berman joins us in an hour. We'll find out his evaluation of what he thought of the opening performance. And I can't believe that this is still an issue for the Eagles. How they didn't fix it makes no sense to me. We'll get to that. Plus, we'll hear from some of our jurors and you at 610-632-0975. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
I think Brian did a great job. I think for us, I've said these things throughout training camp, and I've made that clear of us searching for an identity and us trying to find that identity. And that's something that we're navigating, and that is something that happens when you have different roles and new guys and new places and new faces. But, we're going to continue to grow.
Well, if you're trying to find an identity, then maybe Nick Sirianni's right. And I'm not saying, again, coach questioning his offseason plan, maybe he's right. Maybe you do have to question it, because if you're trying to find an identity, it's not supposed to be when the games count. That's what the summer's supposed to be for. That's what training camp's supposed to be for. They didn't use it. They chose to say, get to the first game healthy and then figure out our identity. I think it'll be better on Thursday night. You and Pat are a little more cautious. Now you're making me anxious.
I think it'll be better. No. I think it'll be better, but to sit back and say, I think they're going to throw up 38, I just think we're still going to see some rustiness, because we saw it yesterday, and you don't have time really to fix a lot in this short little span that you have. So we'll see how it plays out. A couple of things real quick, though. Devontae Smith, I don't know if you saw it, John.
Became a dad Saturday, right?
Yeah, became a dad. Congratulations to him. But he also said that, he said, man, we were running some stuff out there, and their design coverage was so strange that they didn't recognize it, that they disguised so many things, meaning the Patriots, that Devontae Smith said, we didn't know sometimes what was going on out there. So you kind of have to give a tip of the cap, I guess, to Belichick for Devontae Smith to come out and say that. But the other thing, as much as the bad stuff we're talking about, Pat and I talked about this last time, that throw by Jalen Hurts for the touchdown, that was pretty good.
How about the throw, which I still think was a catch to A.J. Brown?
Unbelievable.
I still think that was a catch.
I mean,
that's a catch to me. That's
anymore?
BS. That's BS.
And now, if it was the other team, we'd all be saying, okay, no, he bobbled it. It's not a catch. But, of course. Man, it is tough.
I really don't think I would be saying that he bobbled it.
My bigger gripe is the fact that I don't remember the last time I saw a team hike the ball and the referees don't blow it dead, actively waiting for the opposing coach to throw the challenge flag. I feel like now it gets to the point where, to me, it looked like Jalen Hurts beat the clock and beat Bill Belichick and getting the play off. And he's got the ball in his hands, and right
waiting.
afterward, they're blowing it dead. For once, I'd love for the refs to say, sorry, you were too late.
You're too late.
And it never happens. It's immediately, it's this crap of throwing the challenge flag at the very moment that he likes the ball. That drives me nuts.
Hey, there's used, there's certified, and then there's BMW certified. You can take advantage of exceptional offers during the BMW certified sales event today. Visit BMWcenters.com for details. We go to our next juror, and I guarantee he's already given me a preemptive that he hopes that he doesn't curse. He's Mike from Delran. Mike, bring the fire, baby.
Yeah, I might have cursed last night. I have never been so miserable after a win.
Come on now.
It wasn't just a game, though. Like, yesterday we wake up, right? And, John, my wife's a Patriots fan. And she started talking all this stuff about how she thinks, how can I switch without being a loser, this, that. And it got me excited, man. I thought she wanted to get on this bandwagon. I called Dickie Dunn. He said she should wear a jersey today and package all her Patriot stuff and get rid of it, right? Game time comes around. I'm thinking the wife's going to move over. It's going to be all season getting her to be an Eagles fan. And then she wore Patriot stuff.
Oh, no.
Needless to say, I slept on the couch. I said a lot of things yesterday that I'm sure I'm going to be reminded of later. But she pissed me off. But anyway, the first quarter, man, I was like, yes.
Yes. We all were, right?
And then the second, third, and fourth quarter, I was telling everybody to get away from me and leave me alone. It was just like...
Not the kids, I hope.
I told those little turds to get rid of me. Get away from me too. They're get on my nerves. But anyway, this is why you play preseason games. I agree. You don't need to be knocking rust off in week one. I understand you want guys to be healthy. I understand, how great that worked for us last year. But, you got a lot of new faces on this team. I'm not going to overreact. It was great. We won. We covered. We ruined Tom Brady's day. But at the end, I still went to bed miserable. So, 1-0 is better than 0-1. I don't care what Dallas did. They still suck. And we're going to kick the crap out of the Vikings on Friday.
Thursday night, baby.
Yes, sir.
We'll hear from you on Friday. Thank you, Michael. We've heard from 3 of our jurors that have shared different sentiments, though, on what they were experiencing yesterday. I was actually stupid enough. up 16-0. And my neighbor Mark came over, and we were sitting there watching the game, and I said, my dad would be saying right now, I sweated through every Eagles game ever. You guys are sitting in the glory days of it's 16-0 on opening day. You're dominating Bill Belichick. And then all the crap broke out. I felt stupid afterwards. I'm like, why do I assume that it's going to be 3/4 of that or 4/4 of that?
Well, because they did it last season.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why. It's like, we broke it down for 3 hours of the pregame. Looking at the matchups, didn't look like the Patriots had a lot to offer.
No, it didn't.
And I felt like the Eagles really shot themselves in the foot more than the Patriots went out there and lit it up.
How about all the drop passes, though, with the Patriots?
Yeah.
Because I think they bailed us
at
out.
big times.
Yeah.
At critical moments.
Let's be real. The Eagles are lucky to escape with a victory. That's how I looked at it.
I agree with that. And then the fact that they started, meaning the Patriots, 2 rookies at offensive guards, both guards, and the Eagles didn't take much advantage of it at all. I thought the Patriots did a good job, just like, Pat, what you said on the pregame yesterday. We knew they were going to get rid of the ball quickly. You knew he wasn't going to stand back and survey the field all that much, Mac Jones. It was going to be step back, throw, get it out before the defensive line gets a chance to get in on you. But, yeah, they didn't take advantage of those 2 guard plays much at all.
And that surprises me.
Yeah,
that really does.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to say thank you to the Schwagers. And Ryan worked with us as an intern, and he's now at Monmouth University. So Ryan sent along the Monmouth hat for me.
Oh, nice.
Today. So I'm wearing the Monmouth hat.
It's beautiful.
So he's out there. They asked for a Go Hawks, and I thank everybody for their support of that. I've gotten a lot of hats. I'll be sporting a lot of hats for coming weeks. But Ryan Schwager, a rising star in the business.
Nice.
It was great to have
the
that.
kid that I coached at Camden Catholic had a 4-year career at Monmouth before playing overseas.
And Christy
Kevin Owens.
And Christy likes beer. His mother.
Does.
Oh, is that right?
Does,
his mother just loves beer.
Oh.
So remember, Christy loves beer.
It's just a factual statement.
Yes.
I'm just saying it is. If she makes that, Pat, if that's her Twitter handle, then I can assume that she enjoys a good alcoholic beverage.
I think that's why.
I think it's why she
her and
named
Bob
that.
are both kindred spirits.
I think it's what it is.
Anytime she's in the vicinity, it's like she searches out Bob because
beers with
he
Bob.
likes beer, she likes beer.
Yes,
beer.
Beers with Bob and Christy
brings people together.
It's what it does.
But,
yes,
by the way,
totally agree with you.
So last night I get this when the news came out yesterday about the escaped convict. That he was like within 3 miles of our home stealing a dairy truck. My wife's like, I thought you said he was out of the area. I thought he'd be out of the area. I said, I can't help it if this guy keeps slipping out.
Yeah, it's good school districts.
I mean, he's just trying to think. And she goes, he had to go right by us. She's like, if he stole that truck, he probably didn't get on to 202. He probably took the back roads and probably went right by us.
Yeah, probably.
I said, but he didn't think to stop in and see us.
Well, why didn't you think to be out there looking for him, John? I blame you.
Oh, she's already.
John the bounty hunter. I have a funny story, kind of. Do you remember the escaped convicts from New York a couple years ago? They made a Showtime.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So I'm vacationing with my family up in upstate New York. My mom grew up on one of the lakes in Ithaca. So every year, my uncle.
The Finger Lakes?
Yep. Yeah. So every year, my uncle gets a lake house, and I'm up there and I'm watching some movie late at night. I turn my phone into a hotspot, and I'm like, it's midnight. I just see my cousins frantically walking back and forth in the room that I'm watching. Don't think anything of it. Next morning, they're like, yeah, did you notice anything weird? I'm like, no. They're like, the FBI was around last night. And I went, you're what? Yeah. I went to look at the Wi-Fi, and there was FBI surveillance van. My phone, I named my phone FBI Surveillance Van 4. They looked on the Wi-Fi and thought that the FBI was in the area because these escaped prisoners were also in the area, and they were freaked out the entire night. Pat, and it was all because I wanted to watch the Chadwick Boseman Get On Up movie.
You did that for me also?
Did I?
FBI SWAT Van 3.
Oh, did I? Did I rename it for you?
People that in my neighborhood that look for available Wi-Fis.
Oh, they're having a field day right now with you.
And by the way, there are 2 people that have mentioned it.
Do you ever tell them?
No. I'm never going to tell them.
Better.
I'm never going to tell them. Hey, don't miss the next 2 Temple football home games as the Owls battle Norfolk State this Saturday at 2 p.m. Then the Miami Hurricanes on September 23rd. Both games at Lincoln Financial Field. Kids tickets on game days as low as $10. Visit alstix.com.
I think I'm going to go to that game.
I think you should. You see my daughter. You can go see my daughter. You can give her some money. Let's see. Let's talk to another one of our jurors, and she is fantastic. She is Karen B. Karen, we need you. We need your testimony here.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, Karen.
Good morning, Karen.
Well, at least I had time to relax a little bit, because if you would have heard my testimony last night, it would not have been good. So I'm not going to overreact because it was the first game and they haven't played together. However, wow, the coaching, that was probably one of the worst I've seen. I mean, how do you blow a 16-0 lead?
Yeah, it was not. It was not good.
No, it really wasn't. I mean, Jalen looked rusty. It just, the play calling. What were they doing? Where was Dallas Goedert?
I think that Nick Sirianni wanted to know that too in the postgame.
I think he did, but you know what annoyed me? I don't know if you saw that postgame when he first came out. He came out like we won 42-0. He's like, well, I'm really happy. We won. We got away from the Patriots, and it was an away game. And, yeah, I get that. But I don't think you have to come out really cocky like that. I'm sorry, because it wasn't an impressive win.
I think that's the way he felt. I think that's the way he sort of felt, that it was an impressive win. I didn't agree with him. And they kept saying, they said great. He used great multiple times. I think that's a complete fallacy.
Oh, I agree. That's what he kept saying, too. And I was looking at my husband, and I said, what do you mean great? And
Jalen then came out with the great. You know what they do? They huddle up, and Bob can take us behind the scenes. They huddle up with public relations, figure out everybody, okay, what are we talking about? And they talk before they go out there and talk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I do marketing and public relations, so I know what we have to do. So it's the same thing, just probably on a broader scale. So, yeah, I mean, it was really a sloppy game. And I have to be honest, the special teams, that was the highlight for me. Jake Elliott, he was my player of the game.
Well, we'll hear from you on Friday morning, Karen. Good job. We'll hear from you Friday with your testimony, and hopefully it'll be much different.
Yeah, the Sidney Brown kid's going to be fun to watch.
He is.
Really nice special teams play yesterday. I don't know if you noticed, but on kickoffs that went out of the end zone, he sprinted all the way down to the end of the other end zone. Not a big thing, but I think the kid's got a motor that is really revved up all the time, and I think we're going to see he's going to be sprinkled in this year, and we're going to notice him a little bit.
Well, they could actually sort of use to get him more than sprinkled in. Is that too much to ask?
Maybe right now. I'll give it to him. He's a rookie, and all that stuff. That's a lot to throw him out there. But as I think it was Jeff Mosher said on Friday that he might be the most talented safety in the room. Pat had a good question on that yesterday, John, saying, is that an indictment against the other safeties?
I think it's an indictment.
Yeah?
Yes, I think that's an indictment if you're talking about somebody walking in off the street as a draft pick.
Yeah, we asked McManus about that yesterday, and he said he didn't think it was, but that this kid is just that talented of a safety. So if we see, the linebackers getting kind of eaten up with the short passing game, and you're going to need the safeties to come up and be hitting all the time, Sidney Brown might be somebody you turn to sooner rather than later.
All right, you want to get in with us, you can. 610-632-0975. Love hearing from our jurors. Love hearing your testimony, too, on what you saw in the opening game victory for the Eagles. And we can't miss that, especially when the Chiefs lose a home game and the Bengals looked horrendous. I mean, the Bengals were terrible yesterday. They were terrible. The 49ers and Cowboys. Let's get to this a little bit. 49ers and Cowboys both stomp an opponent. So everybody's like, wow, look at the 49ers, look at the Cowboys. I am always of the belief that the week one, do not overreact. Like, just don't overreact to what you see in week one, because there is always going to be these anomalies. And I do believe Dallas winning 40-0 was more of an anomaly than it was anything that we're going to hang our hat on. The one thing I do know is if the Giants suck, having 2 of your last 3 games against the Giants, including one on Christmas night in Philly, sounds really good to me.
I think we all know losing 40-0 at home is not easy to bounce back from. especially in week 1 of the season, especially against a divisional opponent. That was just one of those weird, ugly games where Dallas gets the punt block and they get the interception, and all these things happen, and before you know it, the Giants are getting steamrolled. I almost put 40-0. You got to give Dallas their props, but God, I put a lot of that on how bad the Giants were. So that just kind of steamrolled out of control. 49ers looked really good yesterday.
They really did.
Yeah,
they looked complete.
Yeah,
they looked all facets of their game were working.
And that the Cowboys defense doing what they did, what I just described. Micah Parsons just seems to be. It seems like every time you look up, there's number 11 somewhere around the ball, somewhere near the quarterback. They're just they're both solid teams. But I feel like when the Eagles play up to their potential, there still is a gap there.
John, you're not overreacting to either of those victories, right? I mean, because Dallas and San Francisco, I thought all along Dallas is going to be a really good team, but I didn't think 40-0 good team.
I'm not. No, I'm not. I'll overreact to the Eagles because I'm an Eagles fan, and that's what Eagles fans are supposed to do. We're supposed to overreact. But those two teams, no. We were talking on the pregame show about it a little bit. Dallas to me is until they actually string it along, and I see multiple weeks with Dak leading the squad. I'm not going to believe that they can come in here and win. I think that they're probably the biggest competition to the Birds, but beating the Giants, no, that doesn't really do much for me. As for San Francisco, a lot was made before the season about the Eagles losing both coordinators, and we forget that the whole strength of the 49ers is their defense. They lost D'Amico Ryans. They looked good, very, very good yesterday against Kenny Pickett. This isn't like the vaunted. And
last year the Eagles looked really good against.
Yeah, and I'm taking this with a grain of salt because the Eagles didn't look exactly great against Mac Jones, but the 49ers going out there and doing what they did, they're supposed to do that against Kenny Pickett. I still go back to the 49ers defense. The strength of their team gives up 32 points in the Link last year. I don't see how in the world they're going to scare me, and they don't. Maybe I'm being very naive with that, but after week 1, I'm not going to overreact to it. And you're supposed to do that to Kenny Pickett. You can still come in here and get it.
You could. San Francisco, though, I'm very interested. I'm very interested in that.
There's nothing not to be. Brock Purdy was my biggest question mark about the NFL as a whole. The way that San Francisco and the whole NFL was saying, yep, this is the quarterback, 5 starts, and they're going to be the main competition for the Eagles and all. I question that a little bit. 5 starts isn't a real big testament to, lay out there to say, yep, I think they're one of. But he looked good against a good Steelers defense yesterday.
Let's see what Brian in Dallas has to say. Brian, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Hey, whoa, that was fast, fellas. Hey,
you ready to go? Are you ready to face all your coworkers today who are going to be already making their plans for Vegas?
Man, listen, they don't bother me. They dreamers, man. Once the Cowboys do something of NFL relevance, that's when I'll get concerned. I mean, they have nothing. They have done nothing since the invention of the Blu-ray disc. I'm not concerned about it. Not at all.
Okay. What did you think about yesterday, though, with Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, man, that's the only thing that concerned me. I know the conditions were bad, but like in the second half, we didn't have that much rain. Just how he just missed so many open receivers, particularly Goddard. And Romo jumped all over that, showing that, right? It was like he was just trying to force something to happen because, the Patriots getting a little bit of a momentum. And that's not what it does. And that just worried me a little bit. Like, he was forcing it to A.J. Brown in double coverage, which I get it. You get those 50-50 balls, but in that kind of game, you got to play smart, and that's just typically not him.
He threw some balls, too, that were 10 yards out of bounds.
Yeah.
That weren't like last year on the sideline patterns. If he missed somebody, he missed them by a foot or otherwise. Right. He was terrible yesterday.
Yeah, and I'm just going to believe, just with his competitiveness, he's going to look at that and clean that up, so I'm not too concerned. And, I think the 49ers had a good game. Dallas, look, I don't like the Cowboys, but honestly, if you just look at the box scores, right, that was just the Giants just being the Giants. I mean, they had 3 turnovers. That didn't even throw for 150 yards, I don't think. I don't think they threw for 150 yards. If you look at the rushes, they were average. I mean, this was just a game where the Giants were the Giants.
That's what it is. I'm not taking away from the win, but
I think
that 40-0 says a lot more. It gives a lot more color to that game than Dallas, quote unquote, great.
How about this? I'm going to tell you one here. And thanks, Brian. Take care of yourself in Dallas. I believe that by mid-October, so October 16th, the morning of October 16th, the Giants season will be over. I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to, and I had said it earlier in the year, and I did say it on Twitter too. I think that they're going to be in big trouble. That loss last night's a huge one because they have to play before October 15th at San Francisco versus Seattle, at Miami, and at Buffalo.
Yeah, that's not.
They could easily have 5-6 losses.
I mean, think about that.
They could have 5 losses.
Think about if it was year 2 of Jalen Hurts or the first year that he's starting, and you're kind of trying to build things up because that's where the Giants are. They're like, as somebody phrased it yesterday on one of the national shows. They're up and coming. And you
really?
And you got think before yesterday.
Sure, absolutely.
And think if that was the Eagles and Dallas comes in here and beats you 40-0 on a national Sunday night game for a season opener.
I picked them for 4th place in the division. I really didn't.
You can't just blow that off.
No, you can't.
No.
And I love what, by the way, everybody hates Gannon, but it should be a sitcom. But his team looked very well prepared for their opener. And they have a bad roster. And it was, Mark Schlereth goes, this might be the thinnest roster in the NFL. And they played a 4-quarter game at Washington and played really well. And his defense was prepared, was opportunistic, and was doing some great things.
And
it's Washington. Well, let's hope we do the same when we play them.
Right. I'll tell you the team I was most impressed with, and part of it I'll admit is because I watched a lot of the game, was the Cleveland Browns.
And they were really good.
Their defense looked really good yesterday. And Kevin Stefanski, they did a really good job against a good Cincinnati team, as we very well know. They were impressive.
We'll hear from more of you. We'll hear from more of our jurors at 610-632-0975. A lot of people venting today. How is this guy, how did he get a job, still have a job and still got a raise? John Kincade Show on The Fanatic. I know this, my BetParks app, it was blowing up this weekend. I didn't have his bad
5, The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. You know, there's used and there's certified, and then there's BMW certified. Take advantage of exceptional offers during the BMW certified sales event today. Visit bmwcenters.com for details. I'm baffled with one thing about Nick Sirianni, and it's not whether he thought that was a great game plan yesterday or Brian Johnson had a great game. I'm baffled by the fact that the special teams still struggled yesterday. I realize they lost 2 of their performers. Pat was very smart to point that out earlier. But to me, the returns significantly help and significantly hurt your defense, which was having a bit of a struggle yesterday. You can't have – I don't know what Mike Clay's got going on for him, but honestly, that was a fourth-quarter collapse in the Super Bowl that helped to lose that game. And then he's just back again, going about his business. And I'm sure Nick will tell us that he's great at his job and that he's doing a great job. I'm not buying it because I'm watching the games. I'm not seeing it. It's not. They give up too many yards. Well, it's incredible.
Yeah, they had a couple good coverages. One where I said Sidney Brown was Sidney Brown was right on top of it. Sipos had a decent day yesterday. Had a 54-yarder, I believe, something like that, one time in the game, and didn't. I hate to say it, he didn't shank anything, John.
Thank you there, Bob. Thanks. He didn't shank. Is that where we're at? He didn't shank.
Yeah, I didn't. The special teams didn't really bother me yesterday. I thought they kept things okay and made a couple of big plays. And of course, as much as we say, oh, you can't count, or as people say, you can't count Jake Elliott as special teams. It's just a field goal.
He hasn't helped. He was great before Clay ever got here. So I am not counting Clay as the reason Jake Elliott was great before he ever. I got you. You know what I mean? I don't count kickers because kickers practice by themselves, do their own routines. The special teams coach isn't telling the kicker, okay, let's sit you down now. I want you to do this with your kick. Swing your leg this way. The kickers work on their own. He's not a part of that.
Yeah, so Sipos yesterday averaged 49.3 net of 44. So they gave up 7 yards of return on 3 returns on punts. That's not bad. On the kickoff return, they gave up 1 return or 2 returns for an average of 31. They did have a 43.
That's ridiculous. 30 yards? That's 3 first downs. That's 3 first downs.
Well, it's 5. So they're averaging at the 31-yard line as opposed to the 25.
I mean, it's just
6 yards.
You can't allow it to. You can't allow it to have. I just don't like the. I have a thing I don't like it. I think they should have made some changes. But again, as Pat points out, when you're losing players during training camp, your 2 biggest snap guys. I need to show more patience with that.
It's tough. Yeah, I mean, Sean Bradley and Zach McPherson were key contributors. I'm going to give them more than a week on that. But if it continues, for sure. Going into this game, you knew the Patriots' return game was pretty strong, so I'll give them a little bit of a break. Other than that, though, I mean, I thought they did okay. And Sidney Brown ended up flashing a few times there. So, but
I'll tell you, I like Sidney.
I thought what was interesting was something that Jeff Mosher brought up on our open house, and he said, Aaron Sipos, one of the big reasons why he's still on this team isn't because of his punting, it's because of his holding ability. And you make Jake Elliott comfortable. And it does seem like Jake Elliott coming back, and what I mean by that is, after he signed that contract, he was bad. Right. But him regaining his form had to it went hand in hand with Aaron Sipos coming on the team. So if it's a security blanket for him, I guess it's okay.
I'm impressed. There were things that the youngsters made me very happy. Seeing the young players appear to be very, let's just say, they look like they belonged. I was wanting more out of the linebackers, like Bob said. I was wanting to hear more names. I wanted to hear Nakobe Dean's name over and over. I did not. I wanted to hear. I was thrilled to hear Jordan Davis's name over and over yesterday. And that was something that I hadn't think. And Jalen Carter is one of the talks of the NFL today, and many of these NFL writers that are out there are saying, yep, Jalen Carter, look at Jalen Carter. Check it on out. And he had a really nice debut. Let's put it that way. A really nice debut.
Yeah, he just looks like a guy that could be dominant. And we see him shove offensive linemen backwards. We see him get his momentum and be able to swim past, whether it be left or right, to get past an offensive lineman. He seems to have all those tools. And the fact that they threw him out yesterday for close to 50% of the plays, that makes me feel good.
I like that.
It's not
maybe most of all.
Yeah, it's not the coddling. It's not the, he's not in game shape or whatever. No, there's no question with he and Jordan Davis. Get out there, get the big boys out there in the middle and start eating some stuff up, And but the defensive line play yesterday, as far as pressure, I know you said Jalen Carter, six quarterback pressures, but not getting a sack until 3 minutes to go in the game. Just not getting there, not running a lot of stunts. I was disappointed in the defensive line yesterday.
I didn't understand the approach. Well, maybe. I mean, when you're getting smoked like that, don't you have to, like they were trying to get, there has to be some adjustment that you could potentially make. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say I can sit in the room and draw it up for them. But it was wide open, and they kept circling. Tony Romo circled at least 4 times in the broadcast. The giant circle in the middle of the field that was wide open constantly.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. I didn't mind Cunningham in the run game at all.
Yeah, he's a tackler.
He's a tackling machine. But other than that, I didn't really walk away with much of an impression of any one of them.
He only had 4 tackles yesterday, so that's kind of like, I don't know, that the absentee linebackers yesterday really stuck out to me, made my eyes hurt. I don't know how many times I said over and over. I would love if we could all watch a game together, but I don't know how many times I said over and over again, where are the linebackers? Hello? Where are you?
C.J. Gardner. I was missing C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah, him too.
Because I think that was one that last year he made so many plays.
Blankenship stepped up, made some tackles, had a great open field tackle. The one time where they threw it out to, I forget who it was, but had a great, field tackle around the guy's ankles where he had wide open space in front of him. Might have been one of the tight ends. And he came up well, but, man, yesterday did nothing to calm my questions about the linebacking core and the safety core.
Now, Tony Romo said something yesterday that you wanted to address. That's just who they are.
Yeah, so, it was after Nick Sirianni went for it on 4th and 2, and Romo came out and said, look, that's who they are. That's who this Eagles team is. That's what helped them get to a Super Bowl. It's what helped them go 14-3 last year. All right. He's right. A lot of Nick Sirianni's gambles did help this team get to where they were last year. But you can be who you are. You can be a gambler without being stupid.
Sure.
I don't know Nick Sirianni from a hole in the head, and I respect him as a head coach.
Hole in the wall or hole in the head?
Yeah, why would you want
a hole in the head,
a hole in somebody's head? Whatever. But I just think that was I'm not calling him stupid. I think that was one of the most stupid calls I have ever seen, and I'm not exaggerating, in my life by a head coach to go for it on 4th and 2 when you're holding a lead with 2 minutes to go in the middle of the football field.
I'm the smartest coach in the world.
You can be who you are. That's fine. Nick Sirianni, as we know, is a gambler. He's a guy's guy, players coach
in the world.
All of those things. But sometimes you got to step back and say, okay, but here I have to be smart. He didn't do that yesterday. And my wife brought up a point, and Karen I was going to ask her on it, but I didn't want to. My wife gets, so aggravated with Nick Sirianni and his act on the sidelines. She's like, he's pompous. I just don't like him at all. And I bet you other teams and fans.
Oh, he's not liked around the
radio? The Patriots radio yesterday? Oh, if the Eagles are down a cheerleader, they could get Sirianni with the waving and the towel and stuff.
He's different than every other NFL coach.
Yeah.
None of them act like him.
And sometimes you have to get out of your own personality is what I'm saying and do what's best for the team. I don't think he got out of his own personality yesterday. And when Romo said that, that's who they are, you shouldn't have been you there. You should have been somebody else. You should have been the smart head football coach and not the one that gambles all the time.
Pat, why is it, and I know you had some thoughts on the running back room, why is it that you think they went about only giving 2 carries to the other 2 backs, and they maybe ran away from Kenny Gainwell later.
I just think that Brian Johnson completely crapped the bed. I think he was ill prepared, and I think he fell in love with Kenny Gainwell early on because it worked, and he just completely forgot about DeAndre Swift and getting him involved. DeAndre Swift played 29% of the snaps in the game. It seemed like primarily a lot of them were out of the slot wide receiver position, which we had been told from Tim McManus that he did play a lot in the wide receiver drills in training camp, but it didn't seem like it was a concentrated effort. And I think it's like if you ask Brian Johnson after the fact, he would be like, holy crap, I didn't even realize it in the moment. And that's on Nick Sirianni to go over and say, dude, we got to get this guy involved. Because all we heard about during training camp was DeAndre Swift. It was nothing Kenny Gainwell. It was DeAndre Swift. Oh my God, he's explosive, blah, blah, blah. To get him 2 carries as if he is Boston Scott is organizational malpractice. And I've never looked at Kenny Gainwell as anything but a change of pace back. I thought DeAndre Swift was a better version of Kenny Gainwell. And to see Kenny Gainwell out there getting way more carries, I didn't get it. And I think hopefully they'll rectify it. And I do think that it'll be a concentrated effort going forward to get DeAndre Swift. I agree with you, John, where I think it's going to be a big day for DeAndre Swift on Thursday.
Because I think remember last year, whenever Sirianni got called on something,
it was Devontae Smith.
Yeah, and then they came right back.
There was a game where Devontae Smith, it was
his first game last year.
Yeah, and then the second game, he was the focal point of the offense. So I don't think it was anything malicious. I think that they scripted the first 14 plays. Kenny Gainwell, for whatever reason, was the bell cow in it, and getting the majority of it, it worked, and they never got away from it.
Now, the bell cow, Pat.
Yes.
The bell cow, is that the cow, the prettiest cow?
I guess.
Is it a cow that wears a bell?
Like cow, I would say, right?
Cow that wears a bell?
I'll look up the meaning of that because now I'm interested.
See, now you're interested. By the way, I want to say it's the 8 o'clock hour. The John Kincade Show begins here on 97.5 The Fanatic. We appreciate you here. You'll hear from some of our jurors. We'll hear from Zach Berman coming up at 8:20 on his thoughts of the game. And I want to hear your thoughts, too, on YouTube TV yesterday because it was the first time that Sunday Ticket has changed for me as a consumer. I really liked some of the new stuff with YouTube TV, but I just don't. Flipping between the games, the 3 games on the same screen or the 4 games on the same screen is freaking awesome, where you just move your little cursor and get the audio for that game. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Thought it was a real nice. There's some really nice innovations. They've got some nice things. But changing between channels is still a hassle. They got to come up with some new innovations. They've come up with that. Got to come up with a new innovation where I can just go down to the bottom of the screen and change games.
I don't have the ticket on YouTube. I didn't get that because us doing pregame and all that stuff, it's kind of hard to be able to sit and watch a bunch of games. But, YouTube TV, which we switched over to, it's tough to change channels. It
it's not
pisses
easy.
me off.
It's really tough. But during
it shows how lazy we are.
But Sunday Ticket was awesome. I mean, the Sunday Ticket was awesome yesterday. It was my first Scott Hansen experience, by the way. I've never had Scott Hansen for the Sunday Ticket. I've always had Andrew Siciliano. Scott Hansen, much different approach to the job.
Did you like it or no?
I did. I mean, he's good, but he's much more animated all the time. Whereas Siciliano is very sort of more laid back. Let's go to Denver. Broncos lining up a field goal here. He's much more laid back, where Scott Hansen was like Tony Romo doing it, to me, at least. But it was my first time. So maybe it was first game or whatever. And those guys do an amazing job.
First time isn't always the best time, John.
Hey, Sam in New Jersey joins us. Sam, good morning. You're on The Fanatic.
Morning. How y'all doing today?
Doing all right, Sammy. Tell us what you think.
So I think, all things said and done, Jalen did play pretty well, for it being the first preseason game. He did miss a couple open balls that I didn't think he would miss last year, like the Goddard or so. But the other thing was the bell cow thing. That's when all the cows are out the pasture, it's like the lead cow, the one that leads away, because the bells just follow that kicker.
Oh, okay. All right, there we go. Now we learned that. So that's a little bit. Yeah, I mean, Sam, though, I think Jalen Hurts had a terrible game. I think it looked like first-year Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I just think that, so with the new offensive coordinator, like you said, he did try to force the ball a few times, but, I mean, his legs came through a few times.
except on that fumble where he got hit in the rain. But, I mean, they saved us a few times. His throws were pretty awful. Like I said, I take that to just first game. They haven't played live game speed.
All right, buddy. Well, that's good. I mean, it's good, and that is, but that is a decision that they made to do that. That was a strategy. They'd rather be healthy than be prepared. Than be prepared for getting hit.
Yeah, I guess you can grow the preparedness. You can't take away an injury. I guess that's the way they look at it, right? We can take 2 or 3 games and get prepared and be ready for the season like they did last year and went 14-3. If you suffer an injury during the preseason, you can't take that away. Yeah, so it's a tough line, but that's where we are now in sports, and it's not going to change.
The AFC East is going to be brutal. Bills. Did you see that Miami offense yesterday?
Oh, that was a track meet out there.
Miami in the Chargers game was just wild.
Yeah.
But neither team plays a lick of defense. So you're going to have to win shootouts or end up with some turnovers or something like that against either one of those teams. Buffalo plays tonight in the Jets, so we get to see Buffalo and the Jets.
I'm excited for that game tonight.
I'm really excited for it, too. Yeah,
that's a great game to start the
By the
Monday
way,
night year.
there are 2 Monday night games next week.
Yeah, early and late.
But there's usually 2 Monday night games first week.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is there.
Maybe it's because of 9/11 today.
Yeah, could
or something. Maybe there's 9/11 programming or something that.
I think it's just ESPN trying to.
Well, why would they do 2 games on second week and 1 game on first week?
I think they're trying it out. I think in about 10 years this could be a trend.
You think so?
Monday Night Football having 2 games, 1 early game and a late game. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't want to be in the late game.
No, I don't think anybody would. But if for the West Coast crowd, it makes sense.
Where were you, Bob? 9/11.
God, vividly remember. So I had 2, Bobby and Tommy, my sons were in school, and I was painting a back room with our son Kyle in one of those little bouncy seats, like, him roaming around. I had Good Morning America on the television, and was in painting and heard them break in.
Playing hit.
And went out and was like, oh my God, what happened here? And then again, and then I remember calling my wife, and the Pentagon happened. And
so she's at work?
She was at work, and I remember calling her saying, my God, we're under attack. I said, I'm going to the school and grabbing the kids. They were in 2 different schools. And she's like, well, wait, let's see what's going on. It's just that I just want my family, with me. And then later that night, going to the Daily News and working in the sports department in the offices, and there was no sports to be had. And so we helped out the city side with all the stories that they had, editing and all of that. And we kind of got done early. And Eddie Barkowitz and I remember walked around the city, and it was just such an eerie feeling, like just walking around a zombie-like city, downtown Philly, with people just in disbelief. And we were done for the day. We walked over to the bar across the street from us, and the bartender was a good friend of us, and the 3 of us just sat there. We didn't even have beers, I don't think. We just sat there and
Can't believe it.
Can't believe this went on today.
I remember I lost classmates and some friends on that day, and it is a absolute, like, to me, craziness, like, to think back on that day. I was on the golf course and playing golf with a former naval commander.
Oh, is that right?
Tim Canal.
Wow.
And I was just happened to be who was a neighbor, and he was retired from the Navy. He was in his probably 50 years old, and he was retired. And when we were getting the news, it was the days of early cell phones, so there's no texting, there's no nothing.
Sure.
And I tried placing a few phone calls to people that I knew worked in the building, and it was just getting the doo-doo-doo, doo, which I hate. But one of my friends, and I won't give his name, he did not go to work that day. He spent an extra day at the shore, and he lost 37 coworkers.
Yeah.
And the guilt that he's felt for over 2 decades is insurmountable. He feels about it every single day. He was the boss of a bunch of these people, and he wasn't there for the staff meeting that they were all there for.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's horrifying. Pat, where were you? I mean, you were a kid. And I mean, you're a middle schooler?
Right? 7th grade.
Right, okay.
First plane hit, we got word over the loudspeaker. And then I think we got word over the loudspeaker actually when the second plane hit. Because the first plane at that point, people just thought it was an accident. And then when the second plane hit, it was, that was intentional. And everybody realized at that point that, as Bob said, you're kind of under attack. So we got word over the loudspeaker, and then my mom picked me up, which was very rare. She never picked me up.
Were other parents coming and picking up, though?
Yeah, well, she picked me up. Like, I think we might have had an early dismissal at that point.
Okay.
Like, class had gotten thrown out the window.
Yeah,
like, you weren't worried about arithmetic. And my mom picked me up, which I thought was weird. And but when I got home, you saw the gravity of the situation because my 7th grade teacher kind of tried to shield us from it a little bit. She wanted to put the TV on and whatnot. But when we got home and you saw what happened, the gravity kind of set in.
It's incredible. And there are many in the local community. I know there's some in my Temple community, O'Hara community, local Delaware County that lost family members that day. And I can only say our deepest sympathies. And it's still, it's weird, though, Bob, having a child who was born post 9/11. I find that their generation doesn't have a feel for it.
No.
I guess sort of like Second World War for us, or Korean War for us, or Vietnam for us.
Vietnam, yeah,
like we don't have a feel for it the way it's everything changed that day.
Yeah, we took our kid, 3 of our kids, and Jenna's boyfriend last summer to the 9/11 memorial. And like I said, Kyle was an infant, and Jenna and her boyfriend, they weren't born yet. But to watch their faces, especially our son Kyle, who was an infant, to watch them see the devastation was what will stick with me from going there, along with so many other things.
It's a beautiful tribute, though.
It is
powerful.
That's powerful. But
powerful's the exact word.
I was up there 6 weeks after the attacks, and it looked like an absolute war zone.
Yep.
And you could only get so close, and by so close, I mean like we were blocks and blocks and blocks away, and it was still
a war zone.
It sits with me to this day.
Was there still soot in the air?
Oh yeah, my mom
Because
got
people
sick
talk
for weeks.
about that.
My mom had we ended up getting a mask from a fire department, and she gave me the mask, and she was sick for months. Like had a nasty cough for a while because of the soot in the air.
We went last night. I was watching something on the History Channel about 9/11, and they interviewed a guy, and it was crazy, who owns a bar a couple of blocks away. It's called O'Hara's. It's where we went last year for lunch after we visited 9/11 Memorial.
Really?
And it's so fascinating because it became like a hub for policemen, fire department. People would come in and hang their badges from there. So there's badges from fire departments and police departments all over the country and world hanging up in this bar. And it's fascinating. And I talked to the bartender that day. We were all sitting there having lunch, and he just said it was and it's a block and a half. It's only a block and a half. Yeah. So
it's incredible, though, the resilience, the rebuilding.
Yeah.
I think we lost a lot of our lessons from that day. That we've lost a lot of the lessons that we learned that day. Hopefully, we come together and we can do it all again. But thoughts and prayers and sympathies out to anyone that is in pain today, and there are many of us that are still feeling it. We're going to get to more of your calls. More of our jurors will check in at 610-632-0975. But we'll talk to Zach Berman next. John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic. I know my friends at
G.
Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. We appreciate you being a part of the show. You know, Spring Garden Lending provides financing to developers working hard to build affordable housing for all home buyers. Spring Garden Lending, in the game to lend faster than a bank and less expensive than hard money lenders. John Kincade Show welcomes in the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day, and Comcast Business gets you ready for what's next. The talented Zach Berman, whose eyes may be a little more, I would say, you're able to, the scrutiny of the game is far more difficult under your eyes than mine. So, Zach, your thoughts on what you saw yesterday, and we appreciate you being here.
Yeah, well, I would say the first thing is it's hard to leave Foxborough with a win, right? So it was an ugly performance for the Eagles, especially offensively. They certainly did not play to the caliber that they need to play. It was statistically one of the worst offensive performances during the Sirianni era. But you look at in Cincinnati this morning, in Kansas City this morning, there are Super Bowl contenders who are 0-1, right? So the fact that the Eagles have all this to clean up and can do it after a win can be construed as a good thing. That said, there's a lot to clean up, and there's a little time to do it.
Zach, when you say there's a lot to clean up, with Brian Johnson in particular, was it play calling more so than actual execution by his offense? Is there one way you can point more towards another? What was your read on that?
A little bit of both. It was not a particularly effective game for Jalen Hurts. So, the ball's in his hands there. I thought they did not do nearly a good enough job stretching the field. Their longest completion, or their longest play, rather, was 23 yards. Now, I know there was there was a 48-yarder taken off the board, but they did not have the downfield threat that they usually do. They were playing behind the sticks. They had the four straight 3-and-outs at the end of the first quarter through the second quarter, and their distance to go there was like 10 yards, 10 yards, 14 yards, and 9 yards, something of that nature. So it was play calling, it was execution, it was the quarterback, and then I think they need to make a concerted effort to get the ball into Goddard's hands, get the ball into Swift's hands. I thought it was a little too much Kenny Gainwell early on.
I'm confident that last year remember they didn't get a catch to Devontae Smith, and then Devontae Smith went off in week 2. So I'm confident they can fix that. But what bothers me, Zach, and I'm a bit of a wordsmith, and sometimes it's not correct, but to hear Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni come out with great to describe Brian Johnson. Great game plan. Great job. Great calling plays. I cry BS. That was not a great game. Nobody that knows football would look at that and say that was a great game.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think, they had the back of their first-year offensive coordinator there. Now, there were some calls that I think could have been executed better, right? I mean, there were times I'm sitting up in the press box and I see Dallas Goedert open 20 yards downfield, right? And Jalen needs to hit him. Or there was a third down run. I don't love the run call, but Jason Kelsey would tell you that if he gets the Mike linebacker there, that could open up. So there are a handful of things you can look at, but the reality is I don't think this was a good enough first game from Brian Johnson. And the good thing for him is he has 3-4 days here to turn it around and fix it against the Vikings.
I think the offense might be a little easier to fix, if we want to term it that way, because of the talent I said earlier, Zach. But on the defensive side of the ball, the linebacker play really concerned me. Like I just saw them throwing the ball over the middle, never saw any linebackers. What was your evaluation of how they played yesterday?
Yeah, you said it there. I mean, I don't think they had the personnel to kind of match up with what the Patriots were doing, and at safety too, to a certain extent. The Patriots were taking advantage of the middle of the field, and I could have told you that was going to be something that they would do. You look at the Eagles roster, and that's how they're constructed, and that's where their weakness is. Zach Cunningham did not play as well yesterday as he did later in training camp. Kobe Dean's banged up. They only have 3 linebackers on the roster, so I don't know where help is necessarily going to come. The reality with the Eagles roster construction is they're built to have a really good defensive front and really good corners, and they're willing to kind of bite the bullet at linebacker and at safety. And for this defense to be what it can be and what it needs to be, they need the pass rush to get home. And if the pass rush gets home like it did in those final 2 drives in the fourth quarter, it looks much better. When the pass rush doesn't get home or the ball's out quickly, that's when quarterbacks are going to take advantage of those linebackers, take advantage of the safety.
When you talk about the roster construction, do you expect that they will be shopping in the next few days to try to find some people who could maybe assist, or do you think they let this ride a little bit because it's a short week? You'd only have 2 days to get somebody involved.
Yeah, for this week, I can't see them doing anything because, like you said, the game's on Thursday. So if Nakobe's out for any period of time here, then you have Nicholas Morrow on practice squad. You have Van Sumeren on practice squad, and in that case, you would elevate them. Going forward here, if you're concerned about linebacker, it is a position where I can see them making a move. Now that said, it's not as if there's this great supply of linebackers waiting for you to acquire, right? I mean, at this juncture in the season, it's kind of hard to find a big answer. What you're hoping for is that Nakobe's healthy and that he can contribute, and that Zach Cunningham plays to the way he's played in the past when he's healthy. But I mean, this is a conversation we could have had in August. It's a conversation we could have had in July. The linebacker play they had last year with T.J. Edwards and Kaiser White, that was the exception for what the Eagles have experienced. Typically, it's looked kind of like this during the past few years.
Zach, to the other side of the ball, the decision to deactivate Rashad Penny, go with the 3 running backs. Boston Scott obviously is a returner. Do you think there's more into that? I said yesterday I thought that the Eagles might have looked at it and said, well, Jalen Hurts is really our 4th running back and not Rashad Penny. What do you read into all this, and how do you think it may or may not change?
I don't read too much into it. I wasn't sure they would have 4 running backs active. So Penny is the 4th one. He doesn't contribute on special teams. There's also the school of thought that given Rashad Penny's injury history, he's kind of like keep him in bubble wrap until you need him option. And I wasn't too surprised by that because typically if he's your 3rd or 4th running back, you want him doing a little more on special teams. So no, I'm not surprised by that, but I do think Penny could potentially have a role this year, depending on that the health status of Swift and of Gainwell.
When the Jalen Hurts you saw yesterday, did you see anything in body language or his facial or any kind of demeanor that would in any way concern you during the game?
No, not during the game, and not after the game either. Now, I admittedly haven't gone back and watched the TV copy yet, but no, there was nothing like that. I just think there were throws that he could have made that he didn't, and no, there was nothing there that concerned me.
Good.
I just thought it wasn't an up to par performance from Jalen.
Zach, we saw Nakobe Dean go down and then ultimately leave with that ankle. Bradbury got a nice hit in the head. I shouldn't say nice, but a hit in the head from a teammate. What is the status of those 2 guys, do you think, so far?
Yeah, we'll find out more about Dean today. If he was seen with a walking boot yesterday. I personally did not see him. There was other reporters there. Saw Bradbury in the locker room. Seemed to indicate he was okay, but again, we'll find out more there. And the problem is, given that it's a short week, it's hard for someone who's banged up on Sunday to be ready for Thursday. So the injury report coming off this game is going to be pretty critical to see.
Talk about Jalen Carter a little bit.
He was awesome. I mean, Jalen Carter played to the level you expect, and you don't typically see rookie defensive tackles look like that. But he was a force. The pass rushing presence he had, it's premature for me to say it makes you forget about Javon Hargrave, because Javon Hargrave was really good.
Sure.
But Jalen Carter is going to be a major factor this season. I think you saw it yesterday, and you'll continue to see it. The talent was never a question. But I would also add, Jordan Davis played real well.
He did.
If you're getting that type of production from Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic, not just about this season, but the future of that defensive line.
I said yesterday to Bob when you watched the TV copy that I thought that it was the most that I heard Jordan Davis's name, including all last season. There was a lot of he had a lot of attention.
Yeah, he was in the backfield, and that's what you want to see. You always knew he could stop the run. You want to see him as a pass rush presence, and that's what he gave them yesterday.
Zach, a short week, as you said. Do you see any changes coming off of a rusty opening game, changes to personnel, whatever it may be, come Thursday night?
No, not at all. I don't think there's any panic in there. I mean, if there's any changes, I think it's injury related. But I think that it's one of those things where they knew this quick Sunday, Thursday turnaround when the schedule came out, of course, and I think they'll be ready. I mean, I'm not one to push the panic button after that game. I think it was a bad performance, or it was a substandard performance, I should say. But to escape with a win while having a substandard performance is certainly not a bad outcome.
All right, tell me just something to take people behind the curtain a little bit. To prepare to do your job, so you'll go back. Will you go back and watch like the 15-minute Cowboy game, the 15-minute San Francisco game, because they both had huge nights?
So I won't watch those. I'll watch the Vikings.
Okay, right.
To really get a sense of them. But no, I'm not gonna check out that Cowboys or Niners game. Maybe the long weekend. I can go back and look at it, but especially a quick week, I'll watch the Eagles game. I'll watch the coach's copy of it. The all 22.
Sure.
To see a little more there, and then I go through the quick quick version of the Vikings game just to familiarize myself with the opponent.
We look forward to hearing from you on Friday morning, Zach, because it's a short week. You got to work twice, so we'll look forward to hearing you Friday morning.
Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you so much, buddy.
Thanks,
Zach Berman, join us on the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day, and Comcast Business gets you ready for what's next. And we've got some jurors checking in, including, Bob, one of your personal choices.
That's right.
Maria joins us. Maria, welcome into the jury. We're looking forward to hearing from you.
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Hi, Maria. Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well.
Were you doing well yesterday at around 5:50? Yeah, what were you feeling yesterday?
Started out great. I was so excited to watch the game. Felt really good about it. First quarter, they looked okay. Thank God for that defense, right?
Yes.
What would we have done without them? But then what happened? Jalen just fell apart. I don't know.
It's weird. Some of the jurors think Jalen fell apart, Bob.
Yeah.
Some of them feel like some of them are putting it more on the defense.
Well, he didn't look like him, right, Maria? He just didn't look like what you expect and what you saw most recently from Jalen Hurts.
No downfield play, no long passes. Even him sitting on the sidelines, he just didn't look like he was into it. I don't know.
It did see. I felt that. That's why I asked Zach that question, Maria. You saw the same thing I did. I saw sort of pouty face, sort of slumped shoulders. It didn't look like Jalen Hurts to me.
Yeah, I don't know. And then Patriots came back. They were just like dinking and dunking down the field, and defense didn't do anything to stop them.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping it's going to be different on Thursday night.
Did you come out of anything positive from the game besides the win, Maria?
Well, Jake Elliott, how about him?
Okay.
Counted on. He just comes through all the time.
Gotta love Jake. Good job, Maria.
All right, guys.
We'll talk to you Friday morning, all right?
All right. See you Friday morning.
You got it. Thanks,
Friday
Maria.
morning. All right, let's see what Brian Weiler's back with us. Brian, good morning. Your testimony, please.
Yeah, John, thanks for welcoming me back.
We're glad to have you back, Brian. You're a big contributor last year.
I appreciate it. So my thoughts are all over the place, but I'm not going to overreact. I will say the people that I was most surprised at, because I did not expect rust from these two guys, were Nick and Jalen. I thought they were very rusty yesterday, and those would have probably been the two people I had the most confidence in yesterday. And then the other thing that really struck me was, a Super Bowl team that loses has a very hard time the next year. And so I kept wondering, because we like the roster so much and we feel like it's stacked, is like, what is going to be the downfall for this team. And I think it kind of played out yesterday. You have two new coordinators, and I think they had rough games. And then even though they weren't major all-stars, but you're missing guys like TJ Edwards, Kazir White, and Marcus Epps, who, you lose those spots, and there's the opening in the middle of the field yesterday.
Yeah.
So I do have a lot of confidence in this team, but I think it's going to be a long year. I think we're going to have a lot of games afterward where we talk about the things that kind of frustrate us. But
long year, you do not mean bad year. You just mean long year of struggles.
That's right.
Okay,
I don't think it's going to be easy because we're going to get everybody's best shot. People hate Nick around the league, so they want to stick it to him. And we're the best team in the NFC, and people want to take us down. So I think we're going to get everyone's best shot, and we have to come to play every week. So
good job, Brian. We appreciate you big time, man. And we'll look forward to your testimony on Friday morning. I look forward to this testimony. Our own Tyrone Johnson. First time we've gone on staff for a juror. And Tyrone, I literally brought up to the guys, we're looking for great passion and great energy, and I think Bob just said, well, why aren't we just calling Tyrone then? He's going to bring it. We know you're going to be fired up today at 2:00. So share a little bit with us this morning about what you're thinking about yesterday's game, buddy.
Yeah, a lot of this goes on Jalen Hurts for me. Hello, guys. Here's the deal. The formula of this team is get a lead with an offense with a ton of weapons and your almost MVP quarterback, and then let that defense get downhill. You get 16-0, and then you continuously after that go 3 and out. That's not the formula. And the biggest culprit of that is the quarterback. He didn't play well. Now, I think it's because he didn't play enough in preseason, and you guys have talked about that kind of stuff. But I think if the quarterback plays well, everything else falls in line, because I can't fully judge this defense because, for one, they did get 2 sacks where they really need them. But overall, this defense was supposed to be playing with the lead because this should be the best offense in football. And yesterday it wasn't. And you can say it was the coaches, but my issue with that is if we see guys open, and Tony Romo, who is annoying as hell, he sees guys open. The quarterback has to see those guys open. The coach's job is to scheme those guys open. It's on the quarterback to find them. And if the quarterback maybe involves Goddard in the offense, something like that, maybe the defense ends up looking better because they're playing the way the team was designed to play. So for me personally, a lot of this goes back to the quarterback being rusty by doing nothing all preseason.
I sense a little bit of a raspy voice there. I have a feeling you may have chimed in a few times yesterday.
It gets frustrating because I thought the defense would have growing pains. Because 5 new starters and a new defensive coordinator, they're almost supposed to have growing pains. They forced 2 turnovers in the game. So regardless of what we're saying with how good or bad it look, like if they do that every game, the Eagles should go 17-0. Like, they played what they scored. The defense scored. So how mad can I really be at the defense? The offense didn't do their job, and that's because of the quarterback. So that's what was frustrating for me.
We're looking forward to you hearing today, 2:00. Best show ever. You guys will be ready, right?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, guys.
There you go, man. Tyrone Johnson joining us. We got CJ and Mike from our jury joining us coming up. It's the John Kincade Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic. Let's say you get ready.
97.5 The Fanatic. Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show on this 9/11 memorial. You may not always need a new water heater, but when you do, choose Bradford White. Bradford White is here for the pro. They are going to acknowledge the national moment of silence coming up at 8:46. They do 8:46, and then if you've never been to the name reading, it's a pretty amazing event to get to be a part of.
Yeah.
And they'll do that. I sketched all the names of my friends and sketched them onto like etching paper. And that was really cool around the fountains too. So the National Moment of Silence is coming up, and we would like to acknowledge that along with you here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Our thoughts and prayers going out to everyone in the listening audience and there are a lot of people in our listening audience, Bob, who either know of someone who died that day or who lost someone personally.
Yeah.
Like in their family.
Yeah. My best friend had a family that was affected, and so many people. So it's heart-wrenching. And our good friend Adam Schefter.
Sure.
His wife, who was then married to somebody else, and he was killed in that on 9/11, and Shefty wrote a
great book.
Really, it was funny. I finished reading Shefty's book, and it's about the man that this guy was. That Shefty really didn't know, but just learned about through his wife and then other people. I finished it on a beach. I'll never forget. And I called Shefty, I texted him, and I texted him right away, and I said, "Shefty, I just got done your book. Oh my God!" And
it was an incredible read.
It really was. And
I didn't want to read it because of the emotion of it. When we went to the 9/11 memorial, the girls had to leave me, because I wanted Liv to see the videos, the personal videos in the video room of the people that we knew. And I wanted her to see them, and I wanted to say it. It got me so messed up. The girls left. I caught up with them an hour and a half later. It was incredible.
Yeah.
So moving. And we are thinking of everybody today on the 9/11 more 22 years.
Yeah, hard
Doesn't
to believe.
seem real. Doesn't seem real. Let's go to one of our jurors, Mikey, who was one of my personal picks. Mike McNellis. All right, Mike, bring it now, brother. I know you can. You're a hockey coach. I know you can.
What's going on, fellas? How are you?
Doing
Good,
well. Mike. What'd you think yesterday, and what are you thinking this morning, more importantly?
Well, last night, the terrible second half on, we have to be better, especially, if they're expecting to beat the Vikings on Thursday, they can't play the way they played last night or yesterday.
You think it's that dangerous, though? Really?
Well, I just think the Vikings are going to be pissed off after the way they lost yesterday to Baker Mayfield and the
Tampa
Bucs.
Bay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I just don't think, especially that all ties into them not playing preseason game reps. That all matters. That stuff matters, especially if it's one game or, one quarter, but they got to get in. And I just don't think they were ready to play yesterday.
Well, it seems like Nick Sirianni wanted to have that as a talking point. And, you've seen it. Back in the day, you did some work with the training staff. So you've seen it up close and personal. It wasn't what they're used to working with.
Right, and I just think, obviously coaches do stuff differently, but Doug Peterson obviously had those guys playing. I was there for that era, and he had them playing preseason games. No matter if it was a play, 2 plays, but they were in there. And like I said, I just think it came down to game plan and just them not being ready to play yesterday.
Good job, buddy. We'll look forward to your testimony on Friday.
Yeah, it makes
it was rough. That was rough.
Yeah, and if they're able to beat the Vikings here on Thursday night, I don't think we're going to see an Eagles team performing at 100% that quickly. When you come out either rusty or not in the best of shape or coordinators not making the best of calls, all that's not going to change in 2 days.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it.
The game is on Thursday, but they really only have 2 full days of preparation probably, especially physically and all that. It's really tough. So if they can get out of this 2-0, if somehow, and I'm expecting them to win against Minnesota, but if they come out of this 2-0 with underwhelming performances, okay, now you got a long break. You got everything that you have to fix out there in front of you, and you would seemingly be in a pretty good spot if you're the Eagles.
Here's one thing I have to say, though, is, Bob, and you've coached basketball. You have a bad shooting day.
Yeah.
And your team shoots from 3-point range 20%. The next game, 2 days later, they could shoot 40%.
Sure.
Right? I mean, so it's like maybe these coaches can catch up with it.
Maybe
a little bit better than we expect.
Yeah, it's just the physicality nature of football, and maybe they do sit down and say, look, Brian, this has to change, and Jalen might be a big part of it. And they say, Goddard coming, you're running maybe a double routes where Goddard's over the top and he's the one that's open. Like, maybe they open it up a little bit more because it certainly seemed conservative, didn't it, John?
Oh, very conservative.
Yeah.
Well, much too much for my taste. CJ joins us, one of our jurors. CJ, you are sworn in. I need your testimony.
Good morning, fellas. Good morning.
Hey, CJ.
So at the end of the day, good teams figure out ways to win games. But highlights, Jalen Carter looked okay, came up huge.
Looked okay?
He looked okay.
Okay. Do you know what happened with Jalen Carter this morning? He's now He's been credited with 7 pressures against the Patriots. That led the NFL amongst defensive tackles. No one was better in week 1, and it's the most pressures by any rookie defensive tackle in a game over the last 5 years. That's better than okay.
Okay.
Come on, that's better than okay.
He will be there. I was expecting a couple more sacks, but I'll take the 1 sack at the end of the game. It came up huge. I'm really worried about Hurts being comfortable in this offense. He looked to only go to his first read on the majority of the drop back. He did not go through his progressions. He looked very uncomfortable. He looked like his feet weren't underneath him. And the plays he was missing by a lot. It wasn't a little. So that's what I'm very worried about moving forward, and I'm hoping this Thursday is a different story. But it just didn't look right, and it was very hard to watch yesterday.
I think it's a pretty good assessment there, buddy. We'll look forward to your testimony on Friday.
I go back to what Devontae Smith said in the locker room after the game, and that was that a lot of the disguising by the New England defense was very, very confusing. I wonder, because he was right, Jalen Hurts didn't go through progressions. I wonder if it was coached into Jalen Hurts that Bill Belichick is going to do a lot of weird things. What we call stick with it. I don't know.
Could be. I mean we don't know, right? It could be.
But I was wondering that yesterday because he did. He kept his eye on the receiver that he was going to most of the time. Maybe, just maybe, Bill Belichick was in the heads a little bit more of the Eagles' offensive coaches than we know.
Let's head on over to East Falls. Brian's there. Brian, one of our jurors, we're swearing you in. Brian, we need that testimony, buddy.
What's going on? Good morning, fellas.
Good to hear from you.
How you doing, Brian?
Good. So yesterday, my overall grade for the game is I'm going to give the Eagles a C+.
Okay.
For one
I think that's fair.
They didn't score a touchdown besides the first quarter. No touchdowns scored. Jalen Hurts had four 3-and-outs. It was the first time in his career. The bright side was, though, Jordan Davis caused the fumble. The defense looked good, I thought. I just feel like the offense needs to get it together, and I give it a C+.
I know. Are you expecting a huge change, a mild change from what performance when we hear your testimony on Friday morning?
I'm expecting a huge change. I think it was a sloppy game. I think the players played sloppy. I think the coaches were sloppy, and I think they're going to tighten it up this week at practice on the short week. And we're playing Minnesota. Kirk Cousins isn't nothing.
Great job, Brian. We'll talk to you on Friday. Everybody says that. He was missing. They're missing Cooks yesterday. Brandon, they're missing Cook because that changed everything, and they still couldn't cover Justin Jefferson at all.
Oh, I looked at the first half box score. First time I looked at it and saw that he was at 7 and 153 in the first half. He is unstoppable. And you watched it. I didn't watch a bit of that game.
I wanted to watch some of that because it was a good way. Like in the early games, I was watching like the multi-screen for a good part of it, but I wanted to watch that game because it was the next 2 opponents.
Yeah.
So I figured, okay, here's a chance to see a little bit more Tampa Bay and a little bit more Minnesota to be able to talk about it.
Yeah, good move by you. And as you said earlier, he was catching a lot of passes over the middle.
Oh, it was. I mean, and then running for
Jesus
12 to 15.
Yeah, so they're going to have to come up. Sean Desai's going to have to come up with something, much like maybe Bill Belichick did against the Eagles, in that you're disguising coverages. Somehow you have either top and bottom or both sides coverage on Justin Jefferson, whether it's your safeties coming up or your linebackers dropping back, whatever it is. But they have to know where he is at all times come Thursday.
It's incredible. He truly is incredible, the way that he's gone about it. I heard Connor this weekend enjoying entertaining the folks out there, too. And Connor, I know that wanted to get some of your thoughts on yesterday's game, because I think I'll make it in the verdict later, but the one thing I didn't want to hear today was complete overreaction. But it seems like there's more concern about the coaching staff than there is the talent.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, because they've been the highlight of the offseason, right? We were looking at this as a talented roster. And I think it's a lot easier to look at that performance. Like, if you're justifying it in your mind as a fan, it's easy to point to, okay, new coordinators, they're going to work it out. If we have major questions about players at this point,
then we got a problem.
That's a lot scarier, and I don't think people want to look at it that way. I also think the majority of the players, even though you have new guys on defense, the majority of players, especially on the offensive side of the ball, are returners from a team that went to the Super Bowl last year. So they've earned more stock, much more than what you have in the new coordinators.
You mean belief, right? Just to give them a little bit of belief.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'm not going to overreact to this. I
don't think
just
you
can't.
should.
I just can't.
And Bob's right with the short week thing. I don't know how many adjustments can really be made. I think this is honestly going to be a figure out how to put a team on the field in some spots ahead of this Thursday night game, with the linebacking core and everything you're doing there defensively, than it is to really overhaul what you saw on Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Now, we saw it last year early in the season where Pat and I, watching the first game against Detroit, got frustrated. Hurts made some reads, but mostly wound up keeping the ball and running, and it seemed kind of off kilter, even though they scored 38 points, whatever. And then a couple of weeks later, there he is playing Minnesota, and he's a pocket quarterback, and everything changed. And they were running like 3 different type of offenses, and they were all really good. Maybe we see that again.
And
Maybe we do.
I'll tell you what.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's par for the course for what we've seen from Nick Sirianni-led teams in week 1. Like, I know it's annoying, but let's think back. The first 2 years he's been the head coach here, tight games that didn't look all that great the whole way through. I mean, the offense was better against Detroit, but you still played Detroit to a tight game, and they weren't a playoff team last year. You played the Falcons to a tight game totally.
Yeah, I mean, they were blowing out Atlanta, and then Atlanta came back. You let them in the game a little bit more cosmetically.
My point is, though, we've seen this from Nick Sirianni before, and his teams have been playoff teams. So
he's been a bounce-back coach.
Yeah, and I don't even know that they need to bounce back. I'll tell you what, when we talked to Tim McManus post-game, he brought up how quality the New England Patriots defense is, and Nick Sirianni talked about it in his post-game press conference too. I don't think that's blowing smoke. That's a good defensive team with a really good, maybe the greatest of all time, defensive coach. So put some stock into how good they are, the conditions, all of it, and just say, I hate to do we got out with a win, because part of what we do here is pick apart the things they need to be better at.
Sure.
But ultimately, they got out with a win against a team that I think is better than some people will give them credit for in the Patriots, and we'll take that.
Well, I think, too, is the idea is that, you talk about like what you can take away from that. I think resilience is something that is to be admired. I think being able to fight out a game like that, you didn't end up like the Chiefs. You didn't end up like the Bengals. You didn't end up like the Giants. Yeah. I think that's something to be admired. And maybe it takes until today or tomorrow to really feel that, but they didn't lose.
No, they didn't. And as frustrated as many are after that game yesterday, so are the players.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the players are really frustrated with that performance yesterday. So as much as we'll say, well, a win is a win, or we hear them say a win is a win, yeah, that's their reprieve from a bad performance. And it's understandable.
I just don't like the great word, Connor. And again, you guys always get on me about, don't worry about the words and everything. I worry about the coach coming out and saying, that was a great performance by Brian Johnson. And hearing it. I mean, that's bull crap.
I talked about it on postgame. I said the same exact thing. I just said bull, but of course we can't say the other back part of that because of the FCC. I agree with you. But here's the thing. Like, what are they supposed to say?
Well, no, the thing is, though, you can defend your man And you don't have to blow smoke up people's behinds and tell them something that they know is not true. You don't have to say it was a great performance. You could say, I think Brian's finding his way, and we were pleased with many of things he did. I mean, but you don't have to say it's great
I'll
because
ask you
you
this.
can't get better than great.
No, I'll ask you this though: do you believe that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts came away thinking they had a great offensive performance? Like,
I do not.
That's all that matters.
No, but
who cares what they have to say? Like, here's the thing: the blowing smoke thing. Let's learn from another team in the city with the. I hate to make the standing ovation thing a thing again, but do you see what it did for Trey Turner? The positive stuff. Like, sometimes you just have to be positive in spite of it to cover. It doesn't mean you don't make the adjustments. It doesn't mean in private you don't address it. It doesn't mean they're not trying to get better. It just means that sometimes you got to defend your guys, especially in spots where they could use it. And a new offensive coordinator who's been with this organization, who they seem to like a lot, sometimes you just got to go out and say, hey, we got confidence in their guy, and that's what they did.
You could say that. You don't have to say he did a great job, though. He did a great job? Come on.
I don't believe they believe that, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing that I do think was real in the press conference, and I don't think Nick Sirianni was being honest, and he knew it when he said it was a great game by Brian Johnson. I'll tell you what it was real was when he came out and he was smiling and laughing and saying, that's a big win. That's a great win. That's escapability, right? Like, they escaped that game.
And that is admirable.
Yeah, to go into a locker room and say to the guys, we were crap today, but my God, you pulled it out. Thank God we beat Bill Belichick. We won on Tom Brady Day in bad weather, all this. Like, yeah, there is a certain feeling of, whew, thank God we did that. I think that was real when he got to the podium.
Hey, Connor, one last thing. There's 20 games to go. Everything fine with the Phillies?
Where are they?
They lost another season series to the Marlins, which is freaking ridiculous.
Where are they in the standings, Johnny?
It's ridiculous.
They're in the same spot they were before the series and the series before that.
So you never take advantage. This team never takes advantage.
So they
just putz around.
But if they take advantage, like what difference in the standings does that make?
It is still. You could still blow this. You
could.
know this.
I know.
From this point on last year, the Phillies had 2 5-game losing streaks.
Yeah.
This team could blow this.
Absolutely.
Everybody telling me, nothing to see here. Everything's fine. This team's not playing well.
I'm not saying that. The margin of error is getting thinner. They're not playing well right now. They really need to show something against the Braves, and they can't choke in the easy series against the Pirates and the Mets coming up.
What do you call them for in the Braves series? Gut instinct.
Dude, a split
today?
A split would be awesome.
Split today? But split today, are you thinking?
Yeah, doubleheaders are most
Bobby, you're
often
going
splits.
down.
Yeah, I'm going down to the afternoon game today.
And they are not, though. Remember that.
They are.
I'd like to take both today. Like, let's go. Yeah, like you said,
I would
John,
love it. Yeah,
I'm
make a
tired
statement.
of the let's not see anything. There's nothing to see here. Okay, this bullpen is really pissing me off lately. I'm tired of them getting leads early and blowing them. I'm tired of them having a no-hitter through 6 and some stupid guy on the radio says, hey, look, there's a no-hitter going on with the Phillies, and then boom, they give up 2 runs right away. Like, this stuff can't happen anymore. I'm done with it.
Don't mention it.
Who would have done that?
Who said that? Who would have done that?
I don't.
I just
Not
love
naming
the fact.
names.
I'll tell you this again. I was listening on the app and listening, running around. I admire Larry Anderson so damn much for the fact that literally there is a no-hitter, 8 outs from a no-hitter, a ball's hit to center field, and he says, Johan Rojas catches that ball every time.
Yeah.
And they just can't. They're sacrificing defense. I don't understand what it is.
We've never had a debate
you don't
on
have
this.
You don't have to celebrate with Rojas, though.
We've never had a debate on this that Rojas is a better fielder than Brandon Marsh.
Much better.
He absolutely is. But Marsh is the better offensive player.
Yeah, but the defense is costing you. His defense is costing you.
So,
and it cost you last year in the World Series, and it costing you again.
You might have noticed this trend with the Phillies over the past couple years, but they like offense a lot more than they like defense.
Hey, be listening the Locked On Phillies podcast, right?
Yes, sir.
Subscribe.
YouTube, Locked On Phillies, check it out.
CSB Media Arts Center in Cherry Hill produced talents like our own Connor Thomas.
And some way better ones.
Check out Connecticut School of Broadcasting's broadcast media program and more. Find out more at gocsb.com. See, much like what Nick Sirianni said afterwards, Bob, I don't believe, and Jalen Hurts said, I don't believe that Connor believes that statement. But who knows?
I'm done trying to read what Connor really is about and not about.
I love his energy.
Yeah, great energy. Apparently very much overworked.
Is that what he says?
Well, no. Actually, we pulled into the parking lot together today. It was probably the second sentence out of his mouth, that he's tired from being overworked. So we all know that, but he does a great job.
He does. He does a nice job.
I do. I just get a kick out of listening to him on the weekends. I didn't listen to post game last night with him and Tom. I know. Yeah, I was doing other stuff and rewatching the first part of the Eagles game that I hadn't seen. But Connor's the man.
Pat, can I just say, I read some of this stuff on social media this weekend, and I thought of you. People need to stop with the Mike Trout stuff.
Why?
Because the Angels never said they're interested in trading Mike Trout.
Yeah, but
they never said anything of this. We do not need a guy who is going to miss half the season every year, 3 years in a row.
Well,
we don't need that.
On what it would cost.
What do you mean what it would cost? He's going to be one of the most sought after players in baseball because somebody's going to bite on it.
You never know.
What you want?
I'm not going to stop a fan base from dreaming here.
You want to, but what are they dreaming of? A guy who's going to miss 70, 90 games?
You can't stop me from dreaming of, Margot Robbie.
Oh, okay.
It's never going to happen, but I can dream, right? I mean, it's if the fan base wants to think about the guy that they've been pining over for years, go ahead. Do I think it's going to happen? Absolutely not. No. Do I think the Angels should trade him? Yeah.
How many guys can they go by? Honestly, if you're a Phillies fan, how many guys can you go by?
Well, you've got some big money coming off the books.
And you're buying a guy who's always hurt. He is always hurt.
Once again, though, Mike Trout, Brandon Marsh.
Well, no, I don't. I want Johan Rojas.
Mike Trout, Johan Rojas. Who would you rather have?
No, I don't want it right now because I can't. Because I'm not going to have him for 90 games.
So you'd rather have Johan Rojas over Mike Trout?
If Mike Trout was a player who was healthy and was performing and was there in the lineup for the last 3 years, like on a frequent basis, I'd be fine with it. I don't want this.
I can't predict he's not going to be healthy for the next 3 years and hit you 35 home runs a season and knock you in 100 runs.
If you call up the Angels right now and say Johan Rojas for Mike Trout, you're saying no?
Oh no, they're going to take it, but it's not. That's again. I'm not doing. I'm not doing things that'll never happen. So that's ridiculous. I'm never doing stuff that's never going to happen.
Who says no on that one?
Yes, exactly.
It's a pipe dream. I need to see what it would actually cost. I'm always amazed in baseball over what guys end up going for. Now, in Mike Trout's situation, because of his contract, you're limiting the amount of teams that could actually go after this guy. The Phillies would be, you'd think, one of them. They do have the Aaron Nola money coming off the books.
Yankees.
Yeah, there's like probably 10 teams in baseball that would actually financially be interested in acquiring him. And because of that, I don't think the price, prospect-wise, player-wise, would be nearly as much. But it goes back to what you said. At what point does John Middleton go enough's enough? Like, I'm not paying anymore.
He's missed 65 games this year. He missed around 45 last year. The year before that, he missed
a lot of the season in 2021.
He only played in 36 games. I mean, this is a guy who hasn't
played the most of it.
He's played just over a full season and a quarter in 3 years. Like, you can't do that.
Well,
you can't. He was great in a time. He's not that player anymore. People are going to say he is, but he's not.
He plays in a rough lineup that has never really done him any favors.
That is the truth.
They signed Anthony Rendon, and Anthony Rendon's been, you talk about injured. I mean, that guy's been an albatross when he's on the field, and he's rarely on the field. I don't know. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I wouldn't hang up the phone if they called and said, what about Mike Trout? I'd have a conversation about it.
He's 263 this year, 283 last year, 281 the year before. And his big years, 333, 326, 323, 315, 312, 306. He was a different player.
He was.
It's injuries.
You got to remember too. I mean, he's 31 years old.
Right, and it's injuries.
Injuries now, but that goes to, would his price tag be lower?
Could be.
Because you could talk yourself into not wanting him, and it's kind of what you're laying out there.
Yeah,
if you're the Angels, you're like, all right, should we just get rid of this guy now so we're not stuck with him because of what you're talking about?
You say split today, Bobby. You're going to be down. Are you calling split?
Does it matter what I say? I called a sweep against the Marlins.
Yeah, it wasn't good. That was your bad call of the week. You had the good call on Penny.
Yeah. I won 2 today. I
won 2 also.
But this Braves lineup, I'm as excited to go down, and I love going down to Phillies games. We were out last week also, but I'm excited to see this Braves lineup too. I mean, they are just ferocious. So I think I get Taiwan Walker this afternoon.
You do.
Yeah, 15-5. Remember back in the day where 15-5 would be really
meant
cool?
Something. Well, when it actually meant something.
Yeah.
Hey, there is one interesting thing, though, is that there is two. You do not want them, and Larry said it, which is great. Ruben said it. You do not want them spraying champagne on your field, in your locker rooms. You don't want that. Nobody needs that. And for the players, it should matter. You should have a very motivated Phillies team. Just wanted to send the notion out there. The 1 o'clock today, though, I'm just not expecting there's going to be a ton of energy. So, Bob, we're expecting you to bring it.
Nah,
you got to bring
probably not going to happen.
You got to bring it.
I doubt Bob's bringing that.
They say there might
I'm going to be in a suite, actually.
Oh,
whoa!
One of my boys who kind of runs a township over in South Jersey, he got access to a suite.
You're
that
wearing
we're
all
going
green,
to,
though.
So I'm going home.
Oh! I didn't realize you're going home beforehand.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I mean, you look
I'm getting picked up to go to the game, John.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah. So
Pat, I mean, seriously, he is.
He's got a chauffeur. He's free
living
tickets.
the life. Good
Yeah, it
stuff.
sounds like sounds like a former coworker of ours.
I am that highfalutin person, aren't I, Pat?
Sounds like you've got the connections, as they would say.
Yeah, Duke March is taking care of me today. Way
What's
to go,
up,
Dookie.
Duke? A lot of people.
You know Duke.
Oh, yes,
met Duke.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Met Duke
a few times. Yeah.
Duke looks like he could break you in half with one hand.
Duke likes to lift those weight things.
He does. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, it's we're watching the Phillies, but look, we've been talking Eagles all morning long,
Sure.
and we've been having our jurors get in too. And our jurors can get in if we have any remaining jurors that need to get in. They can get in at 610-632-0975. I'm formulating the verdict based on some of the comments I made, and it's weird. I don't remember a day where it's been more all over the map. Like, people are blaming Sirianni. People are blaming the new coordinators. People are blaming the players. Jalen Hurts has gotten 3 jurors that have listed him as the number one reason that they struggled yesterday. We have not seen that.
It's so funny. Blame is your first 3 things, and they won the football game.
And it is. And it's what is.
Yeah.
But the thing is, last year we found out the jurors got a little giddy, and we all did, and then the giddiness just rose. It just rose because they earned it. It's all right to at least be, as long as you don't take it as a loss. It wasn't a loss yesterday. You know who lost? The Chiefs lost. The Bengals lost.
The Giants got smoked.
Oh, my gosh. I can't imagine. I want to see that next game between the Cowboys and the Giants. How they can. Daniel Jones just looks lost.
I can't imagine being in Philadelphia and you have a Sunday night game against Dallas. Now, you don't have to put the Eagles where they are now as an elite team. Put them 2 years ago when it was kind of unknown and they were up and coming. And you were to go in and lose a Sunday night game on opening week 40-0. I mean, that would set. I think the Giants got set back far last night.
Well, I mean, I told you, I showed you the schedule coming up.
Yeah.
They're going to get crushed. And then that takes 1%. I liked what I saw out of Washington yesterday, but it's Washington. And they were playing against Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's really tough to go at home against Josh Dobbs and pull out a victory.
By the way,
It's difficult to do that.
Didn't like seeing the Sixers owner all duded out in his Washington stuff.
Well, he owns the team.
His colors and his thing. And then Joel Embiid celebrating the Washington Commanders touchdown and celebrating it. I just don't like it. And it's stupid, and it's me. I don't like it. I think it's really ridiculous that you're doing that. Why is he going? Why is he going rooting for the Commanders? You go as a guest. That's one thing, but celebrating touchdowns and stuff like that. I'm sorry.
Couple thoughts here.
If you're really an Eagles fan, you'd never do that.
But
well, he's not.
He's not.
He's a Green Bay Packers fan.
Yeah, but he's claimed though. I've seen social media.
I
He's
know.
claimed to be an Eagles fan, so I don't want to.
But his number one team is the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers is his favorite player. He's told me that.
So now he's a
many
Jet
times.
fan, I guess, this morning.
But he has gone over a lot. Yeah, he has gone over a lot. Obviously, the Eagles games. We know how important that was. We've seen him there cheering and all. I don't know.
It's just gross to me. I don't know.
Like if you bought a football team and I went and you're all happy and I clapped because I was happy for you.
Well, if you're high-fiving people and everything in there, and I don't imagine.
I don't know.
I don't imagine.
He's happy for his boss.
Exactly.
That's what it is. He's
I
happy
guess.
he's happy for his boss.
Yeah.
I mean, like, in the grand scheme of things, he doesn't care about. Like, I'm sure he wants the Eagles to do well, but he's not living and dying with every game like we are.
By the way, they didn't play well either, Washington. I mean, their defense played okay.
Because they're not a good team.
But the Arizona offense is not very good. But Jonathan Gannon had his team prepared. And Mark Schlereth goes, this roster is really thin. He said, but they found some players, so they'll be watching that one. We get the Arizona experience on New Year's Eve day at 1 o'clock. That'll be a fun way to get your New Year's Eve started.
If the interaction between Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon will be as chilly as the weather that day.
I wonder if it will be.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch.
We got a lot coming on, and we still may have some jurors. And if you want to get your last thoughts in, you can at 610-632-0975. A very spirited morning.
Home or on the go, listen to 97.5 The Fanatic on Odyssey on your smartphone, Roku, LG Smart TV, Waze, and more. That's Odyssey, AUDACY. Check it out now.
Hey, this NFL season, get incredible offers from FanDuel in partnership with Valley Forge, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers, you can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. All customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now's the perfect time to join FanDuel. The app, it's so easy to use, and you know all the things that you can bet on. Point spreads, player props. Yesterday, a lot of same-game parlays we were talking about. Always so much fun. So visit FanDuel.com/Bob and kick off the NFL season with an offer you don't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Pennsylvania. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds, terms, and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
Now, back to the John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, Philadelphia.
John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic. We got our jurors in today. Our final juror has arrived. That's a good 12 for 12 to get things started today. As everybody wants to react to or potentially overreact to what's going on with the Eagles after one game. And again, would you rather be Kansas City? And I know it sounds like a cop-out. Would you rather be Kansas City? Would you rather be digging out of a hole, losing a home game? Would you rather be the Cincinnati Bengals, who just got punked by their #1 rival? I mean, they got dominated.
Yeah.
That's going to be one that's harder to come back for. I think the Bengals loss is sort of like the Giants loss, but they started 0-2 last year.
Yeah, you know, it's
funny. And they
funny.
played in the title game.
Yeah, it seems Joe Burrow's getting that kind of slow start thing is becoming common with him.
Not playing in the preseason.
Yeah, could be. Again. I mean, there was just a lot of ugly football yesterday, all around. Just looking at scores and highlights and everything. Yeah, it didn't seem
happens.
like... Yeah, it happens. It does, yeah.
Hey, there's used and there's certified, and then there's BMW certified. Take advantage of exceptional offers during the BMW certified sales event today. Visit BMWcenters.com for details. I just got to share something. My mouth today, one of the side effects of the chemo is your mouth tastes like just garbage. My mouth today tastes terrible. It's like I ate dirty gummy worms or something. There's like dirt worms. My mouth tastes horrendous all day because someone sending it is going, it looks like you've eaten a lemon, but my mouth just tastes terrible today. So I'm just fighting that a little bit today.
Sorry for that.
Yeah, it just sucks.
Can you get something to drink?
There's lozenges. Yeah, but it doesn't really change.
I think I have some beer in the refrigerator.
That might work, but it doesn't. But I'd be bluffing. It doesn't change anything.
I don't have
it's just
beer in the
terrible. Hey, Dante, our final juror to check in. Dante, how are you today, buddy? And what's your? Let's swear you in. Find out what you got.
Hey, Bob, would you mind if I joined you with that beer?
Anytime, buddy. You know that.
You know, I can replace Kincade for the time being.
And just have the beer and chug on in. While I drink it, you could be drinking.
What's going on, guys?
Hey, buddy.
Listen, I just honestly think it was just a collective thing, man. I'm not too concerned. I'm not going to hit the alert button, none of that. These guys haven't played football in 7 months. Mistakes are going to happen. It was a lot of miscues, miscommunication. I can't really put a lot into a week 1 game when these guys are still rusty in a sense. Jalen didn't play a good game. Let's be honest. Jalen did not play a good game.
No, he did not.
He looked lost at times. He missed open receivers. He tried to fit the ball where the ball shouldn't have never been. It happens. I expect the same thing for week 2. I'm expecting the same thing against Thursday night against Minnesota. So once week 3 hits, I am expecting this team to be full circle, ready to go, and to look like this team that we saw last year.
So I like that. I love the fact that you are refusing to just hit the panic button. But you do acknowledge things weren't. I think Jalen had a really poor game.
Oh, easily, yes. A lot of poor decisions made on his end. And it was just frustrating at the fact that, we got a guy in DeAndre Swift who you didn't give the ball to until the fourth quarter. I mean, this guy is like a Swiss Army knife. He could be used in multiple ways and facets, and he doesn't get the ball his first touch to the fourth quarter. That was a little upsetting, but
there we go.
I can't put much stock into much, brother.
We'll hear your testimony after Game 2 on Friday morning.
Thank you.
All right, buddy.
It, brother.
There he goes. Dante from the Northeast. Love him. By the way, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, the most disruptive against the Patriots. 2 youngsters. 1 year, one his first game in the NFL, other one his second year in the NFL. But I was looking for a lot more out of Jalen Carter and out of Jordan Davis. And let's hope we continue to get it. One game is not a statement, but it is a statement when you've had the best game for a rookie, for a first-year defensive tackle in 5 years, and you were the best defensive tackle at disrupting things in the entire NFL yesterday. That's pretty incredible.
Good signs from both of them. You heard their names a lot. Jalen Carter was very, very strong and nimble at different times yesterday. I love that Jordan Davis, I would see him make a tackle or be in on a scrum and then get up and stay in the game. I love that. He wasn't coming off the field because it was 2nd and 8 and, you're thinking it's a passing down. Nah, he's got to play. He's got to play all the time. So love the snap counts that they had. And, their production was very, very good.
It was really good. I'll have the verdict for you coming up here in just a few moments. A few things. Players in social media, Pat, can be a problem. My buddy Andrew Filipponi in Pittsburgh, who does works on sports radio up there, George Pickens is on Instagram, and he's liking posts that criticize Kenny Pickett.
Oh, not great, bud.
How can you do that? How can you be so stupid? Now, I can tell you this, as a guy who got suspended a few times when he was at Georgia, I can tell you that I'm not expecting to see George Pickens end up on NFL Jeopardy week anytime soon. Or Wheel of Fortune, for that matter.
Maybe he just doesn't care.
How can you be that way? You're playing for Mike Tomlin. You can't be doing that.
Maybe he cares too much.
Mistakes.
Maybe he cares so much to say, this guy ain't it, man. Let's move on. You know what I mean?
Move on to what?
I know. I hear you. But sometimes players just get so frustrated, and it's not that they don't. You might be right, Pat. Maybe he doesn't care, and I understand the way you're saying it. It could also be this kid is so used to winning that he looks at a quarterback like that and says, yeah, this guy ain't getting it done.
He's not getting it done for us.
But it's not your place. Yeah, you have to be a professional. It's not your place to say that or tweet it or whatever he did.
Hey, he's liking posts that are saying, the guy can't get you the ball, dude. And he's liking it. I can't believe it.
Yeah, you can't do that.
It's not the smartest thing. It makes for an awkward.
Yeah, they're going to go to the meetings
Monday.
Today. Right.
Show up. Hey, George, what did you do after the game?
I'm liking posts that rip you.
Yeah, are you on Instagram at all?
How about that? Yes. Bottom line is this: if Jalen Hurts, I'm not willing to give Jalen Hurts a complete free pass. But my belief system in Jalen Hurts is so high that I believe he's going to rebound, and I think he's going to rebound imminently. That some days are bad days. Some days you have bad days. You have a bad show. You're an accountant. You have a bad day. Not our man Ron Davis, though.
He never has a bad day.
Never has a bad day.
No.
Hopefully a doctor or a surgeon doesn't have a bad day. But it happens. You have a bad day. I think yesterday was a sort of a collective, maybe at 16-0, they exhaled a little bit. That looked like a blowout. That looked like a 31-7 type of day. And maybe they exhaled a bit.
Well, the fact that you took the air out of a stadium that was euphoric after Tom Brady rings that bell up there and, everybody's going nuts because it's his day. And the announcer's saying before the game it was loud in there. And then halfway through the first quarter, it's dead.
Oh, it was dead.
It was dead. You did your job. Stay on it. Championship teams, they stay on that.
And they did all last year. A lot of times they did.
And that's going to be one of Nick Sirianni's message, I'm sure, and probably Jalen Hurts' message, and everybody knows it. We should have stayed on it, the Eagles were probably saying to themselves, and they didn't.
Here's one thing I'd say, though, is should should that message be coming from Jalen Hurts today?
I don't mind if he says it to his offense, like, guys, we got to keep our, we're up
Wouldn't they be
16-0.
looking at him going, dude?
Yeah, well, I'm
what
sure
about
he
you?
says
What
it.
about you?
I'm sure that's the first thing he says.
I
Hey,
hope so. That's
more
I
me
mean,
than
yeah.
anybody, but all of us together had more me than anybody. But we got to do a better job of putting the gas down and keeping it down.
Yeah, I don't worry about him with self accountability.
Well, who's the worst person on offense yesterday?
The worst?
I think it was him. No, you're not pointing at any of the offensive linemen having.
I didn't think the
worst
offensive
day.
line had a good day.
I don't think they had a good day in the first half. I think they had a mediocre day in the first half, and they had a very good second half.
I thought they were very, at best, I'll say mediocre. I thought Jalen was. I was surprised at how much under pressure he was.
I think Jalen looked antsy to me. And again, I don't know, the X's and O's the way he does, but he appeared very antsy to me.
I really think there was more to it, and I'm anxious. I don't know if we're going to get the answers because it's such a quick turnaround. But that Devontae Smith thing is sticking out to me. That the coverages were disguised so well. I think there was a lot of Bill Belichick defense going on there that was like, whoa. This is, and maybe some of the coaching staff of the Eagles tried to counteract it, like I said, making Hurts just look one way. Yeah, they didn't look natural yesterday.
No,
last year they looked natural. The offense, they didn't. It was like you were taking the Globetrotters and trying to make them run, exact pick and rolls or whatever, and it was like you don't do that with this team. This team just seemed too straight lined or whatever it was yesterday to me.
You know what that looks to me is that then I look at it and I say that's the coordinators.
Yeah, maybe it was overcoaching.
The coordinators maybe, but I will. Sean Desai does not have the same loaded deck that he's got. Great talent. He's got great talent. He's got a defense that is one of the better talented defenses in the NFL, but he doesn't have the loaded deck that Gannon had last year. I mean, Gannon had a better secondary, distinctly.
Yeah, well, C.J. Gardner-Johnson
was huge. He was a huge player last
season.
year.
Yes.
What do you have? 7 interceptions?
6, I believe.
Or something like that. I mean, he was a impact kind of guy.
Sure, he was. Yeah,
and Desai doesn't have that. I think they were missing yesterday. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was missing big time.
I think linebacker play was missing big time. Also, that group looked lost to me yesterday. Absolutely lost.
The only thing I'd say about that is last year they were picked apart in the middle of the field too, in the passing game. That was one of their weaknesses, where they got picked on was the middle of the field, and it wasn't like yesterday though. Yesterday seemed surreal at times how open some people were.
I mean, not only open, but after they catch the ball, okay, your linebacker isn't there for the coverage, but then the linebackers aren't even stepping up to get the tackle.
That's where I put it on. That's where I wonder, though, were guys in the right position? Were they put in the right position?
Yeah, I mean, there was some
and I don't want to
throws.
just blame the coaches because the coaches, are going to get too much blame here. But it was interesting yesterday to watch that and to watch how it all worked out because it's strange to me to see them look so discombobulated. And the thing I point to is 2 new coordinators.
Yeah, and look, Bill Belichick couldn't match the Eagles' talent for talent. It's just not there. And we talked about it last week. It's going to have to be an ugly game in order for New England to try to win this game or have a chance at winning it. It's exactly what it turned out to be, an ugly game that was, dummied down a little bit probably by Belichick early on, like trying to slow things down or whatever. But he's, for all the talk we had last week about him being a good coach or not a good coach and all, yesterday there was one point where he was talking to Jones on the sideline late in the game. And the way Romo was speaking, like, yeah, there's a lot of intricacies going into that, knowing Belichick the way that I do. So for us to say, oh, yeah, he's defensive coach and probably didn't have a lot to do with Tom Brady and all. I think
he has plenty.
I think he had a pretty good hand in that, too.
But I think also, though, is back then he had Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
And I think it was a guy that got a lot of leash. Josh McDaniels, he trusted him. And more importantly, Brady trusted him. I'm not giving Mac Jones the leash. I tell you, I hate, the word moxie. My wife always laughs at me when I'll use it. She's like, that just really doesn't even sound right. The moxie that I saw yesterday out of Mac Jones, because that game could have gone absolutely like that. That could have gone off the rails big time. And Mac Jones didn't let it happen. And he was absolutely earlier. Sal Pal talked about it, that he was outplayed by Mac Jones. I never thought I'd see that.
Yeah, it's funny when we talk about football teams going, I don't care if a quarterback outplays another quarterback. They're not going against each other. Tom Brady outplayed Nick Foles in the Super Bowl. Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Right.
Like, to me, and we've had the conversation about Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes of who outplayed whom. But what I thought yesterday and what really bothered me, after he started out 7 for 12 and had the interception and all that, Mac Jones wasn't uncomfortable at all.
No, he was
after
not.
That.
He was not.
And like, that's my big thing. If somebody's completing 8 in a row, whatever, somehow make him feel uncomfortable. He wasn't.
No,
not a little bit. Not a little bit uncomfortable.
Let's hear what Jalen Hurts had to say, though, about, and again, the whole winning is the only thing, because maybe every one of us needs to hear it a little bit today.
Brian's cool and calm.
That's cool and calm.
I'm glad that he's cool and calm.
Yeah, way to go, Brian.
I don't know, Brian. I mean, I want to know.
Sometimes Brian Johnson makes mistakes. Sometimes Jalen Hurts makes mistakes. Believe it or not, guys, sometimes Pat Egan makes mistakes.
Or I did. I hit the wrong button.
No. It was me. And here's what you meant when you said Jalen Hurts.
First and foremost, I think that's a great win. A great win for us, being able to be resilient. Obviously, for me, winning is the only thing that matters. And that's something that I've always said all the time. And so that's the mentality right now. And that will always be the mentality. Winning is the only thing that matters.
Well, then you accomplish that goal.
That always, but that honestly gives you a free pass every time you have a crappy effort. It gives you a free pass.
Well, as you said earlier, it's not easy to win. It's not easy to win up in New England.
Absolutely not.
Maybe it is a free pass, but it's the obvious one. I'm not defending. I'm just wondering.
No, I get you.
It is, though. It is the obvious one, and we can play the Andy Reid bit all we want about, all right, guys, relax, enjoy the win. Sometimes you have to win ugly.
You do, and
it beats losing ugly.
I'd much rather be where they're sitting right now than dealing with what the Chiefs are doing, because then the Chiefs are saying, "Well, we let one get away."
Which fan base do you think is more frustrated today, New England or Philadelphia?
Oh, absolutely, it's Philadelphia.
You think?
Yes.
And they lost the game.
I think
that they had a chance to win.
I think they're looking at it right now and they're going, "Oh yeah, we got something here."
Really?
We played the defending NFC champions. I would imagine it is I would say it's a positive day on Boston Sports Radio.
Interesting.
I would think it's Pat. What do you think? You think it's negative? You think it's positive? What do you think?
No, I think it's very positive, because they had a one season with Mac Jones rookie year. He looked okay. Second year, he looked bad. And I thought, as Sal Pal laid out in the one cut, he outplayed Jalen Hurts. So I think you're probably going into that game, if you're a Patriots fan, expecting a loss, and you got a loss, but you made it a lot closer than you thought you were going to, and your quarterback played pretty damn well without one of his top weapons, Devontae Parker, who was out. So I think it's a positive day.
Like, are Eagles fans feeling better about Jalen Hurts today based on yesterday than Patriots fans are? No, Patriots fans are feeling good about Mac Jones.
Oh, yeah, they should.
They're going, wow. They're going, wait a minute
here.
Nice
performance by him yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, nice performance.
Yeah.
Again, nice performance.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean that it's going to carry over, and that's what a lot of things don't happen. Like they don't carry over. What happens in week one sometimes is the absolute anomaly. There have been two.
Here's hope.
There have been 2 1-win teams and 1 2-win team in the last 25 years that won their game in week one.
Wait, say that.
Two 1-win teams and 1 2-win teams that won games in week one. So they won week one and then lost. Just kept losing. So sometimes early in the season, weird crap happens.
Look, going into yesterday, the team that lost in the Super Bowl the year before, since 2000, was 4-19 against the spread.
4-19? That's crazy.
The team that lost the Super Bowl was 4-19 against the spread in the season opener the next year. Now they're 5-19 because the Eagles covered yesterday.
Just to point to you, the Bears beat the Niners last year in a rainy game in week one. The Bears dominated the 49ers. And the Bears were everybody's darlings this year, and they looked pretty bad yesterday. They look.
They were Connor's darlings.
I got to tell you, and I loved Green Bay. I bet Green Bay in the over on their season win total over 8.5, and it's still too early. But I really like what I saw out of Jordan Love yesterday. And to me, I don't understand is Justin Fields has never been a great passer.
No.
And I don't think you go to the you go to the NFL and then all of a sudden you become a great passer.
No, that's probably where it declines even a little bit more.
All right, Jarrell joins us. Jarrell, good morning. How are you, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, man?
What's up, buddy?
What you got?
I think that y'all being a little, I think the whole city is being negative Nancy.
Tell us why, because we've tried to keep it both sides today. So tell us what you're hearing and what you're thinking.
So, one, we all know that defenses start fast in the league, right? And in the offenses, they take a little bit time to catch up. So we already know that they didn't play in preseason, so we knew that they were going to start off slow. Now I can tell that Jalen Hurts is not up to the standard that we have for him, right?
Or that he has for himself, right?
For him, yeah, for himself. But at the same time, he did 66%, no interceptions. Yeah, he had the fumble. He had one touchdown. Now, of course, that's not the standard that we saw last year, but he wasn't horrible.
Oh, wow.
Y'all making
I thought it was. How about this, Jarrell? It might have been one of his worst games as a pro.
No, from last year, yes, but 2 years ago he was horrible.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying to you is that but he's a third-year guy, so he should never be. He should never look like a first-year quarterback. You shouldn't be comparing it to that anymore.
Now, but here's another thing, right? Here's another thing. I think that Vegas knew that Patriots had a great defense. And I think that we're overlooking that, right? Because it was no reason that it should have been a 3-point. It was 4.
It was 4.
It was 4 points, right?
And the Eagles covered.
But at first it was 3. Yeah, and they did cover. But Vegas knew. They knew. Look, they didn't play in preseason. They go against Belichick, who has a great defense. So it played out the way that Vegas knew, and now we're 7-point favorites. And I think that we're going to come out and throw you go
throw some hands. You go throw hands. Is that what you're saying?
I think so, man.
All right, buddy. We'll talk. Hey, Jarrell, check back with us on Friday. We'll talk to you then.
Will do.
All right, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
We'll see what happens then. That's a little optimistic for me, but I never want to. I always want to hear from somebody that say, "Oh, you're being too negative." I think we've been very both sides of the fence today because none of us have said overreact. None of us have said sky's falling. None of us have said like this is. But you can call again. I go back to where the law professor that I had who said you can make a bunch of statements. You can make 3 statements that are absolutely true, but when you group them and try to then say, well, this is what these statements mean, it can be false. Nobody. You can say that they played terribly. You can say they absolutely played terribly yesterday. It wasn't their day. You could say that Jalen Hurts had a terrible game. And you're not saying that Jalen Hurts is terrible. It doesn't equal.
Yesterday's a game of specifics. You know, you look at one game, first game of the season, the specifics of the game were this, that I thought Nick Sirianni made a horrible call to go for it on 4th and 2, that the offense certainly wasn't running on all cylinders, that the linebackers and secondary, specifically the safeties, didn't do anything to make you feel more comfortable. Those are specifics to yesterday.
Yes,
I don't know if they're going to become generalizations of this whole season. They may, and it's the things you need to point out because they may become the generalities of the season. And if they do, then that's where the worry comes in. But through one game, we're pointing out what happened specifically in this one game.
Pat, you remember how sloppy and crappy that Jacksonville game was last year?
It was hideous, yeah.
And you were losing 14-0, like 7 minutes in.
Yeah, we're sitting there going, what the hell's going on right now? I mean, there was a pick 6. But okay, all right. And then they jump out to the 14-0 and they righted the ship. And there's going to be games like that throughout this season. But I think there'll be plenty of games that we probably expected to see yesterday where the Eagles go out and they just put it on their opponent and they hammer them and, we're feeling good.
I think it was yesterday in the preseason game, Pat, that you said it. I believe when we talked about games, maybe it was Andrew, about games that were tight last year and you just needed to make plays to get through. And you talked about the Indianapolis game and the Chicago game and Jacksonville here. You got down 14-0. Well, what made that team 14-3 last year? They found ways to win those games when they didn't play their best. Yesterday may have been the game that they played their worst to win a game. this season. Maybe it just plays out that way.
Maybe it does.
Yeah.
It works out well.
But
so.
the final tally, the end line is Eagles won the game.
All right, let's get down to business here. I took notes for all of our jurors, and I think I've come to a culmination of and a conclusion about what they were thinking. My guess is that there's a lot of over-the-top reactions going on all over town, but I was very impressed with our jury that tried to keep it measured. Nobody was sounding any alarms. Nobody pulled the fire alarms. I was shocked that 3 of our jurors first mentioned Jalen Hurts as the number one reason that the team struggled yesterday. The new coordinators took a lot of bullets, too. They were absolutely being criticized heavily by our jury, deciding that they weren't getting the job done. Nick Sirianni's decision on 4th and 2 was met with negative approval from 8 out of the 12 jurors. So we come back to that. It was one of those shaky days. Hopefully, we're going to see a much better night on Thursday night, 7.5-point favorites against Minnesota. So that's where it comes in. It seems like the 4th and 2 got a lot of leverage. We didn't talk about that enough. That decision at the end of the game, which I'm telling you, they lost that game yesterday. I'd be losing my mind today.
Yeah.
That was terrible. That was a terrible decision.
Some people came back at us and were like, well, you want them to be aggressive and now you want them to be conservative?
Not at that point.
No, I don't mind the aggressiveness, but I want them to be smart. Smart isn't aggressive or conservative. Smart is just smart. And that wasn't smart in that time and place of the game.
Stupid.
How about
you could common sense?
You could say that too, Pat.
How about in the same situation? Now again with the analytics, in the same situation, coaches have done that around 4% of the time. That's all you need to know. 96% of the time, a coach punts there.
I got to tell you, if I needed to go to a spreadsheet to see what I should do there, I should be not allowed to coach football.
But I think they're not even thinking. That should just be absolutely. I know what to do here.
Couldn't believe
I know
it
not
when they
to do
snapped
that.
the ball. I could not believe when they snapped the ball.
I thought they were drawing them offside.
That's what I thought.
They were trying to do, and then they were going to get 5 extra yards for the punt.
Exactly. Take the penalty, 5 extra yards. You give them a chance to get it inside the 20. Worst case scenario, it goes through the end zone, and you're out at the 20.
Okay,
they got the ball at the 44.
So then I go to Tim, and Tim says, okay, so you want Nick Sirianni to punt in that situation, but you complain about the punter sucking. What's he to do? Okay, if you're telling me that the reason he did it is because he doesn't trust the punter, put that on Nick Sirianni, who had 7 months to get a new punter. Don't give me that nonsense.
Yeah, that's not the argument to make.
He had 7 months to get a new punter. Don't tell me, he's stuck with Sipos. There are punters all over the world he could be getting. And he decided to stay. I still do not understand. I will not understand, even though he was not terrible yesterday. Sipos was not terrible yesterday. I don't understand why you're bringing him back.
Especially in that situation. Well, all right. In that situation, forget about bringing him back. If you move back the 5 yards, you're just telling him kick it as hard as you can. Try to get it inside the 10. If it goes through the end zone, who cares? No big deal.
There won't
You'll
be
okay. No matter what, you're taking yardage away from New England at that point. 2 minutes to go in the game, 5-point game, and you're giving him the ball at the 44. That just doesn't make sense to me.
The analytics department, and by the way, the Eagles had one of the largest in the NFL. And if the analytics department is telling him the best thing to do there is to go for it, then that's just flat out stupid. That money could be better used because you got a department that's telling you football people would tell you that isn't the play at that point. One timeout, make them go 80 yards. Make them go 80 yards and say, if you beat us with a touchdown, 80 yards, then we deserve to lose. One timeout. Instead, you give it to him on the 44. It makes no sense. It doesn't. And anybody who's defending it today, that's absolutely nuts. Now, if you tell me in the first quarter or the second quarter, Nick Sirianni makes a move like that in a 7-7 game or something, okay, he tried it.
Time and place, though.
Exactly. It matters. Game situation matters.
If I'm in that press corps today, and I can't be, at the talking to Nick Sirianni, I honestly think one of my questions, because it's one of his favorite things to do, is to bring up his father was a coach, his brother is a coach. What would they have done in that situation?
I think that's a great. That is a great
Did you talk
question.
to your dad and your brother? Like, would they have done what you did?
In the state title game against, what's the matter you?
And I'm not
My brother did this.
Yeah,
I'm
but
like,
I'm
come
not
on.
making fun.
No,
What
but I
I'm doing is
understand.
relating to him.
Yes.
He brings it up a lot. He brings up a lot that he relies on his father, his brother, because they're football minds. And I
Right.
love that. I swear to God.
That's
I
awesome.
adore that. So I would ask him, like, what did your brother and your dad think of you going for it on 4th and 2 with 2 minutes to go in the game?
He
at the
said
44?
at one point he did say something about it. I bet his dad's going to have something to say about it.
Oh, did he really?
Yes.
I didn't
He
see
didn't.
that
He
part
didn't
of
say
it.
he would disagree with it,
Well,
but he
all the
said.
more
But I
reason
think
to
that
ask.
makes it that. I think it makes it that. Yeah, there's my dad's going to disagree.
I don't mind it if you're working. You know, your offense is gelling and clicking and all that. It wasn't. Your offense wasn't clicking. I don't know about you guys. I had no faith they were going to pick it up at that point. There's been games where it's 4th and 2, and I'm like, go for it.
Yeah,
because at that point,
game, right?
Yeah, you can't be stopped,
So
right? Like the offense is so good that last night or yesterday wasn't one of those times.
No, somebody on here just asked if we converted the 4th down, would we all hate the call still?
I would.
Hands up. Yes.
I would, yes.
I hated when they snapped the ball.
No,
I didn't even care. Obviously, I cared if they got the first down. I hated the call no matter what.
I couldn't believe it.
Me neither.
That they made that call. Hey, we'll be back with you tomorrow, and we look forward to having you join us. Hopefully, the Phillies can get a sweep today. Support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, the Davis CPA Group. Talk to Ron Davis this weekend. Make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because I am living proof, hopefully going to be 3 times over, that cancer research saves lives. Cuz Radio comes your way next. I know he's going to have some big reactions and yours. Chance to chime in. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6. John Kincade Show saying,